The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
So something really stunned John Kincade yesterday, and Mr. Logical John is correct. So ESPN and now Fox Sports has the Eagles roster ranked second in all the NFL. That's exciting.
Yes.
Is the defense really that good? We dive into that today. Phillies lose game one of their series with the Twins yesterday. It's Kincade and Salciunas to talk about it all today right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
This year, the 2024 Phillies rotation has pitched better than the 2011 Four Aces rotation.
And it's been a bunch of years since the team has had 3 pitchers with 10 wins before the All-Star break. This is historic.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
It was a better morning if I'd been able to get a full night's sleep.
Yeah, dude, I must sleep through everything unless we didn't have storms. Apparently, John had like a monsoon go through his house yesterday.
No, it was a light show and thunder through the Chester County area corridor that I live in. It was a light show that lit up the entire room, and we have those plantation shutters.
Ah, okay.
The room was completely lit up, even through just like the cracks. Lightning, thunder around 2 a.m. Nikki Foles not enjoying it.
Well, I'm sorry to Nikki Foles. I'm sorry to you, John Kincade.
She did not enjoy it, but I was awake for it.
I slept incredibly.
My wife,
yeah, exactly. It's
my wife
great
slept
day.
too. So, maybe Christina should have come in and done the show today.
So here we are. Refreshed. 2/3 of the show is refreshed. So we'll try to carry you through.
That's good.
John.
I'm ready for it. I'm fired up.
Of course you are, man.
Kenny, camp's opening today.
Camp is opening today. They report to camp today. The Philadelphia Eagles, man. They report to camp today. Practice starts tomorrow. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni this week. We'll hear from Vic Fangio this week. Maybe we'll hear from some players. Maybe the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni beef might be squashed this week. I don't know. There's going to finally be legit storylines to get into this week, and I'm so thrilled by it. Even though, let's face it, this summer has not been bad in terms of conversation. Like, if we're talking about our jobs, we've actually had a pretty damn good summer. And
it's been a great summer.
Phillies have been great. The Sixers have provided all kinds of content. The Flyers, Michkov made it to the States.
Has he landed? Wait a minute. I don't think he's landed yet.
No, you're right. It's a long flight.
I don't think he's landed yet. I think he's going to land in, and we will see him today on American soil.
Oh, yeah, Johnny
when
Airport.
I'm in.
John Clark will be at the airport and probably be the first one to greet him.
Now the question is he going to get his baggage? Is he going to get those pictures from the airport are scary.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening.
I'm excited. There's so many good things going on.
And then the Eagles talking points, there's been a million of them, and we've talked about them all, but I'm glad that we're finally going to have real football to start talking about as they report to training camp today. But something that, and you were right in saying this yesterday, John, and it's not something that I necessarily thought about. ESPN and now Fox Sports, we're in the summer mode of reacting to what the national media is saying, right? Soon we'll be able to follow our local media that will be at NovaCare every single day when the Eagles allow them because rules are a little bit different.
And trusted eyeballs.
Right, absolutely.
You got the McLanes there. You got all the folks from NBC Sports Philadelphia. You got all the names we trust.
Yep.
To have their eyeballs on things.
Yeah, our local coverage from The Athletic, right? It's going to be people that are unbiased, that are just there.
Our own Andrew DeCecco will be there taking notes.
And we'll talk to him on Thursday. We'll talk to Jeff McLane today at 8:10.
Yes.
So, you said something. ESPN and Fox Sports both have the Eagles roster ranked second in the NFL. Second best in the NFL. Roster. Not just the offense. If we said just the offense, like if we did hey, where are the Eagles offensively?
I'm holding up a number for the folks on YouTube. Two.
And if not,
if you said offense, I'm giving San Fran the nod. Eagles 2.
And I think you could make the legitimate
Miami
case.
Potentially 3, Kansas City.
Yeah,
in that mix.
Even though Kansas City, the wide receivers are still questionable. You could make the case that the Eagles could be one. If you value Jalen Hurts more than Brock Purdy, I believe George Kittle is better than Dallas Goedert. But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I would take over the duo of Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel.
So do I, but I put McCaffrey ahead of Saquon.
But it's not McCaffrey to DeAndre Swift. It's it's 1A, 1B, 1 to 2.
No.
1
McCaffrey,
to 3.
McCaffrey to Saquon is you're choosing do you want the tomahawk ribeye or do you want the Wagyu
Right,
beef?
you're pretty good.
You're both great either way. I still give McCaffrey the edge.
And that's
by
fair.
the way, I've been a McCaffrey convert because Connor would even remember. A few years ago, I was not as McCaffrey because until he's proven he could stay healthy,
Right.
I was not in on McCaffrey's freaking
and
unbelievable.
he's done that for
He's
San
freaking
Francisco.
unbelievable.
So we all agree that if not number 1, the Eagles'
They're
offense
right there.
is 2, maybe 3. If I were to ask you guys, where would you rank the Eagles' defense? Again, this is all on paper. This is all conjecture, right? If I were to ask you where you would put the Eagles' defense, knowing what you know so far, there might still be some late offseason acquisitions when other teams cut down from players, but they cut players because they might not be good anymore. Knowing what you know about this Eagles roster, there's still some question marks about who might be the other starter alongside Darius Slay, who's going to win that slot corner job, who's going to be that second safety. Maybe when Sidney Brown eventually comes back, does he overtake Reed Blankenship? There's question marks about the defense. There's also not many surefire, talented players.
Do you know, honestly, how many giant question marks are on the first team defensive depth chart? To me, it's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy how many questions are, and they're a team that we look at and say, man, 12 wins.
Yes,
you and I are both at the 12 win. Connor, are you 12 too?
Yeah, I'm right around there.
You're right around the neighborhood. So when we say 12, we're speaking in generalities, but that's what we're sort of looking at. There's so many question marks. Like is honestly, does anyone have anything but a question mark on Nakobe Dean and Devin White?
Right.
You better have a question mark
And Zach
on both
Bond,
of them.
who's never played outside
Right.
linebacker,
So any one of the-
and Vic Fangio's going to try to turn him into an outside linebacker.
So any one of the two of them you decide to use.
Right.
Or whatever that you choose to put in there. I'm going to say right now, I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to have a breakout year. But he's a question mark now.
Yeah, we don't even know.
We can't put is he going to be a starter?
We don't know yet.
We do not know that. I don't know. Is Avonte Maddox a starter? And if he's a starter, he should go out there looking like the Riddler with the giant question mark on him.
Right, how long is he the starter
seriously,
for?
3 games?
Not because of lack of talent,
No.
because of injury.
And I'm not trying to rip the guy because I have a ton of respect for these guys that go out there and play football.
Absolutely.
And get there. But he is a guy who has not been able to stay on the field. Is Nolan Smith? Some people think Nolan Smith is a starter.
Oh, this is the leap year. Remember?
No.
As soon as the season ended, because I told you, John, it was a damn PR tour. When there was the questions about Hassan
Nolan
Reddick
Smith.
and what's going to go on with Hassan Reddick, all of a sudden Ian Rappaport out of nowhere goes, the Philadelphia Eagles have really high expectations for Nolan Smith. That was a PR tour. He might be great. But how could the Eagles know that a week or two after the regular season came to an end, in which they refused to play Nolan Smith, or at least Sirianni and Patricia and Desai refused to play him? Howie Roseman has to say on his press conference that it's okay to play young players. And then Ian Rappaport, out of the blue, just like Jeremy Fowler last year out of the blue, talked about how the Eagles wanted to turn Jalen Hurts into a pocket passer. It was a report in June. It wasn't even camp. I think OTAs had ended. All of a sudden, Ian Rappaport out of nowhere goes, yeah, the Eagles think really highly of Nolan Smith, despite not playing him all year.
I honestly will put I have great belief that Nolan Smith is going to be able to become a player, a contributor. A star? Who knows? A contributor, a really good NFL player, I'd bet on it.
And by the way,
but guess what? It's a question mark.
And he's not even a starter because it's
No.
Bryce Huff and Josh Sweat, and those are two question marks.
Well, the thing is, I don't look at Josh Sweat as a question mark. I look at Josh Sweat as I think I know what Josh Sweat is.
Yeah.
Josh Sweat is going to be a guy who disappears for 7 to 8 games. Every year of his career, he's done it.
He'll make a couple big plays.
But he's had a 7 or 8 game stretch in every year of his career where he doesn't get to the quarterback. I think I know what I got in Josh Sweat, but I don't think he's a deficiency. I just think he's not a difference maker.
No, I don't think he's some elite edge rusher.
He's not a difference maker.
I think he's a guy that completely benefited from playing with this defensive front that you had 2 years ago that had Javon Hargrave, Fletcher
Right.
Cox, Jordan Davis, rotational ends. Brandon Graham was playing at a high level that year. Hassan Reddick obviously was a beast. The problem is you could say the exact same thing about Bryce Huff when he was with the Jets. He was on that Jets defense that got after quarterbacks all the time, and he wasn't even a full-time player. He was a rotational guy that benefited and played very well. And I don't want to take away anything from Bryce Huff. The Eagles clearly value him. They clearly see a ceiling that might be where Hassan Reddick is. That's why they paid him that money. But until we see it happen, that is another question mark. Is he a great piece on a defensive front that is dominant, or is he a guy that could be the lead dog? We don't know yet.
I have no question mark on Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. No question mark.
I can make a case that you can.
See, I can't. I can't on either one of them being a question mark. Question mark means I don't know if I'm going to get a big contribution or not. I know that I'm going to get a big contribution from both of them.
Okay. For Jordan Davis, the question mark is how long?
Oh, well, no, that's fine. But he's been a top 8 player at his position. There are 32 teams. He's been a top 8 player, scored out 2 years in a row.
And my question is...
despite the fallout at the end.
Well, but here's the thing,
that's not a question.
Here's the thing. He's now, he's now entering year 3. I can't see a fall off. There's no more rookie walls.
There better not be.
You're entering year 3.
No, there better not be.
By the way, Fletcher Cox played his ass off last year.
He had a really fine year.
He had a great year last year. He's retired. So not only does Jordan Davis, can he not have the fall off, he needs to play more this year. And I'm sure they'll be smarter because I think last year they ran a couple of guys to the ground on that defensive line. I don't know if they ran Jordan Davis to the ground when they had Fletcher Cox out there as much as they did. Milton Williams is going to have to step up a lot, but come on, we're talking about Milton Williams. I need Jordan Davis to not only not fall off, no more rookie walls when you're a third year, you're now a vet in the NFL. You also have to replace a lot of snaps from Fletcher Cox. And then when it comes to Jalen Carter, I think he's going to be a stud. Don't get me wrong.
You put a question mark on him?
Again, there's context. The question mark for Jalen Carter is, can he? Like, we're talking about leaps. Like,
sure,
if this defensive front gets home, he needs to be a stud.
Oh, absolutely, he does.
Really good.
No, there's going to be, because of other deficiencies. You need Jalen Carter to be better in year 2 than you would expect a year 2 player to be.
So that's a question mark.
Right, you need it. But I
think he'll get there one day.
He's not a question mark, though.
No, but I think it depends on, again, it's probably the way we phrase it.
He had a better first year, scored out in many in different ways than Aaron Donald did.
Right, and that's what scares me. People are already doing the Jalen Carter, Aaron Donald comp. That is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Correct.
All right.
But the only thing you can compare is year 1 to year 1.
Absolutely.
And Jalen Carter was a menace and was actually a little bit more of a menace than Aaron Donald was.
And I expect him to still be a menace this year. It's just, is he going to be, if you're looking at that front,
oh my gosh,
everybody's saying he's the best player already. So that means he needs to be really freaking good.
You're making we're making the point right off the bat here, though. How in the world does someone look at the Eagles roster and say, like, if you were just thinking off the top of your head, and I want to bounce around you, Connor, me, back and forth. Okay, I'll go. I'll take, just to say it, I'll take San Francisco's defense.
Yes.
Okay, go on. Give me another defense that you think on paper, just off the top of your head, is better than
Baltimore.
The Eagles. Okay.
The Jets.
The Jets is a good one. Right there you've got 3. I'm going to tell you right now, Kansas City's is better on paper.
Kansas City's defense is better
on paper. That's 4. Better on paper. Is there another one you have at top of mind, Connor?
I mean, there's a bunch.
Pittsburgh has a better defense.
Okay.
Cleveland
definitely does.
Cleveland's an elite defense.
There's 6. Cleveland is an elite. Dallas has, and that's the one I was waiting to give.
Yeah.
Dallas, in your own division, has a better defense than you.
Right.
Okay, we have now got the Eagles out of the top 25% of defenses. How in the world does someone look at their roster and say, and we're not poo-pooing on the Eagles, it's just I'm more poo-pooing on that list.
Right.
How does somebody say the Eagles have the second best roster in the NFL?
Oh, I guess they value their offense so much more than other teams. That must be what it is.
Do you think there are people who still go, defense wins championships? I don't believe that.
Yeah, that's BS.
I think how about this? I think you can't win with a bad defense. That's what I think
Right.
You can't win with a bad defense. But you know what you could have? You can have a middle-of-the-pack defense that is opportunistic at turning the ball over, and you can win a Super Bowl.
And can they be middle of the pack? We think they can be.
I expect them to be.
With Vic Fangio.
This roster to me, though, looks absolutely double digits. No way doesn't look top 10 defensively. And to me, that says I just do the math and go, wait a minute. No matter how great the offense is, it doesn't make the whole roster a top 2 offense.
So here's our question for you guys to start. At 610-632-0975. You can text and call in. Yesterday, we focused a lot on the Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and the offense, right? But Sirianni, Jalen Hurts relationship. Today, we're looking at the other side of the ball. We're looking at the defense today as the team reports to camp today. Camp starts tomorrow. You'll finally have some legit talking points to get into. But this is something pretty big when a lot of national media sites, Fox Sports, ESPN, I'll check what CBS has to say. I'm sure they did the exact same thing. They have the Eagles roster second overall before the season starts. And our question is, or multiple questions, I guess.
We have a lot of questions.
Is the Eagles defense better than we think? Is it that they might just be better than last year and our people are saying that maybe? Or is the national media missing something, which I think they might be missing how bad this defense, well, not how bad this defense is, but how hopefully middle of the pack this defense is.
You know how
we're hoping that they're middle of the pack.
You know how we talk about Daryl Morey having to go shopping like the last few years? Yeah. He's had to wait and go shopping to get the roster that he wants. Is Howie going to have to do that again with this defense? Is he going to have to look to, like, I fully expect before we hit opening day, Howie will be roster poaching somebody else's
I imagine so,
cut
yeah.
and adding to this team saying, well, that's more reliable or it's a nice depth piece.
Right.
To me, I don't like that strategy. I hate that strategy.
Because Patrick Queen isn't getting released. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna be Zach Cunningham. It's gonna be these linebackers where you go, I know that guy can make a play here and there. I also know that there's deficiencies with that player.
And to me,
like Shaq Leonard couldn't move. With all due, like I felt bad.
No.
It was sad watching him play football last year.
You know why teams? Again, I use that Dan Reeves expression that he taught me years ago. The league will tell. The league is going to tell you.
Right.
If a big name guy is out and someone goes, I don't have a use for him in November. There's a reason.
Right.
There's an absolute reason. And in the NBA, I don't think that's the same.
No.
In the NBA, you see guys being willing to, they're willing
trades
to
all the time.
And
yeah.
there's more teams are willing to just punt on a season in the NBA.
Right. Absolutely. Where the NFL
than
you
the
can't.
NFL.
So for context, guys, because I told you the Eagles are second on this Fox list.
It's crazy to me.
At 10, the Cleveland Browns. We all agree the Browns' defense far better than the Eagles' defense. But obviously the Eagles' offense is far better than the Browns' offense.
Okay.
Especially with the question marks surrounding Deshaun Watson. But a 2 to 10 gap is big. Number 9, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 8, the New York Jets. 2 more defenses that we believe far outweigh the Eagles' defense. The question is, do the Eagles' offense far outweigh those 2 teams? I think the Jets, you could make the case that if Aaron Rodgers is playing well, the Eagles don't far outweigh that Jets offense. And same with Dallas's offense, if we're being real.
No, I mean, Dallas's offense should be prolific still.
It should be.
I mean,
it might just all fall apart. It might fall apart after this year.
Maybe not prolific. Dallas's offense should be.
They're going to put up numbers.
A really good numbers offense.
Right.
Number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. Defense so much better than the Eagles' defense, but Eagles' skill position players outweigh the Ravens' skill position players. They may have
correct.
They may have MVP, 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. The Eagles have a lot more in terms of wide receiver and running back.
Well, they have Derrick Henry now.
Remember, that is a change.
What Derrick Henry is
other
left,
people are
we'll see.
Exactly. Other people are higher on Derrick Henry than I am.
5, the Houston Texans. 4, the Detroit Lions. 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the Eagles at 2, San Francisco at 1. I mean, the Eagles' offense is better than a lot of these teams. The Eagles' defense is far behind a lot of these teams. Like, it's not like the Eagles are right there defensively with some of these squads. So that's the thing that we want to get into today to start at 610-632-0975. We focus on the defense.
Now, somebody's going to say, oh, God, I can't believe you guys are being negative on the day camp opens. It's negative on the list.
Yeah.
Let it be clear. we're all in the 12-win club.
Right.
But we think that it's a little rich to say the Eagles roster's second in the NFL.
But for all those question marks that we also have about some of these defensive players, they're also question marks because it could go in a positive way.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you coming up next, and I would like to get your answers on this as well. I think the Eagles' success on defense falls on one guy.
One guy.
Well, not one guy, but
no.
it's
One
radio.
guy more
it's
than
radio.
one guy more than anything else.
Yes. I think there's a lot that falls on this one player. I want to know if I'm going too far in saying this, but I want your answers as well. And you guys could chime in on the phone, 610-632-0975. So have those answers ready for me. I'll give you mine to start the segment as well. And the Phillies, we'll get into them in a little bit. They lose to the Twins yesterday, 7-2. It was an ugly game except for the top of the first inning. Harper with the 2-run home run. It was awesome. And then it was all downhill after that. We'll react more to the Phillies game coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning right here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Salciunas is presented by Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White, they're here for the pro.
It is 6:28 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Tuesday morning. So we're focusing on the defense today because ESPN and Fox Sports both have the Eagles as the second best roster in the NFL. Not the second best offense, the second best roster. And I celebrate that. I think that's awesome that people outside of Philadelphia think this highly of the team. But because we are so much closer to the team than these guys, like I think Bucky Brooks was a big part of the Fox production of this list.
Okay.
Bucky Brooks is not near Philadelphia. He's in L.A. somewhere, right? He's not living and dying with the Eagles the way we are. So he might not know exactly what's going on, but clearly from afar, he sees the Eagles as a good roster. And we see the Eagles as a good roster. But is the Eagles' defense good enough to still allow you to say that they have the second best roster in the NFL? So the questions are, is the defense better than we think? Is the national media missing something that we see? Are we missing something? Right. We would love to hear from you. You could text it. You could call in 610-632-0975. Now, I posed a question to both of you that I want to get your answers on. I believe the Eagles' success on defense, majority of it falls on one person.
One person?
Majority of it. And that person is Bryce Huff. Because you are losing 27 sacks over the last 2 seasons with Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick, who Bryce Huff is replacing, right? You saw how much of a toll this defense took when he fell off last year. Because he had a horrible last 6 weeks of the season, right?
Yeah, it was bad.
I agree with you, John. We've talked about this a couple of times during the offseason, that maybe the secondary can help the pass rush.
Because in the Eagles' past, twice we've seen that.
Right.
Where secondary let the front seven eat.
And I think the secondary will be better this year than it was last year. But I do still think it's a perfect marriage when both are operating at a high level. And Bryce Huff got paid a lot of money to replace 27 sacks over the last 2 seasons. I don't think he will be as good as Hassan Reddick was 2 years ago. But if he can come to, 3/4 of that, instead of 16 sacks, he has 12 sacks. That's going to only make Josh Sweat's life easier. That will help the guys on the interior's lives easier. Last year, Hassan Reddick was focused on so much in the beginning part of the season. He even talked about, I remember him saying, I'm getting chipped more than I ever have been this year because of what I did 2 years ago. That then led to Jalen Carter having one-on-one battles, Jordan Davis having one-on-one battles. So if Bryce Huff comes out the gate red hot, maybe defenses have to focus on him more, which will then lead to Jalen Carter, who we all believe will one day be the best player of this defense. But I think it all starts with Bryce Huff. And it might be unfair to put so much on a guy who's never been a full-time player, but he got paid to be one. It's like the Jalen Hurts thing. He got paid to be a franchise quarterback, which is why I put so much on the plate of Jalen Hurts, and I don't do the whole, he's young, let's see how it looks, we got a new offensive coordinator. No, that dude is getting paid to be the franchise quarterback. Bryce Huff is getting paid to be a top edge rusher in this league, first of all, and needs to be for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, I have a different name.
Okay.
And Connor, I wondered, without saying it, did you have the same name that Andrew had?
No.
Either do I.
Am I crazy for having that name?
No.
No.
It's not crazy. And it would have been on my top 3. I had 3 names I considered. And I wonder if Connor's name's going to match mine.
Okay.
To me, it's Jalen Carter being a public menace.
Okay.
If Jalen Carter is not just absolutely terrorizing offensive lines and making opposing quarterbacks think, where the hell's he coming from and when's he coming?
Right.
I think this Eagles defense could be in trouble.
It might be because
I think
he's the most talented player on the defense.
And it might be unfair to say a second-year player. But as far as this year's success, I think his success would have a trickle-down effect more than Huff's.
Probably.
So that's why I put more on Jalen Carter.
And the reason why I said question marks for Jalen Carter, it's not because I don't think he's a good football player.
There are
it's
question marks.
I don't know if I should sit here today on July 23rd and say, I need Jalen Carter to take a leap like Aaron Donald did for this defense to play well.
I don't think
that's scary to me.
It is.
Bryce Huff got paid to
Right.
be the guy. Do I believe he will be the guy 2-3 years from now? No, I think it's going to be Jalen Carter's show. But for this year, Bryce Huff got paid to be the guy.
Is Connor's name a different name?
Couldn't be more different.
Okay, now this is crazy. Like, I mean, but it actually makes the point. Three of us doing a show in Philly.
Right.
Look at the Eagles' defensive depth chart, and we have three different names about who the most important player is, and who is it?
You guys, I think, are looking at this defense the way that you want it to play. And I think we need to look at this defense.
The way Vic Fangio wants it to play.
Exactly. I'm going safety. I'm going Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He adds so much that this team didn't have last year. What could this team not do last year? They couldn't they couldn't create turnovers the way that they needed to be a plus defense.
They didn't have that dog in them.
They couldn't. Sure. Well, we'll go with dog, too. That's absolutely fair.
If Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's on this team last year, San Francisco does not walk onto the field through the defensive back drills,
right,
and then they all just put their tail between their legs and pee.
They don't. James Bradbury doesn't, turtle.
Right. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson probably gets back into the face of them, and then
there might have been a skirmish.
Then we got a football game.
Yeah. Right. So we got that dog back. We also have a guy, communication was an issue. What do we know about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on a football field?
Not afraid to talk.
That dude's loud. That dude's going to let you know where he thinks you're supposed to be. And if he's wrong, well, the coaches will be able to tell him. But safety, we've heard this since Vic Fangio was hired. Safety is the most important position to him in executing the bend, don't break defense. And you brought in a guy that was really good here a couple of years ago at a position you were really deficient at last year.
Here's my one concern with that answer.
Okay.
The number is 19.
What's that?
The amount of games he's missed the last 2 seasons.
Totally understand that.
Okay. He's not missed them because of, soft tissue stuff.
No. But this is also a guy that
plays reckless.
Reckless.
I mean,
right?
he is out there he is out there trying to hurt people.
Right. He's out there. He's a safety.
Okay.
He is a legit safety.
Here's the spin zone. Doesn't that make him more important? Doesn't it mean that we've got to focus on more how much can he give to this team? We know those other guys are going to be available. Isn't he potentially the biggest sliding scale?
I guess you could make the case that if he's healthy, then the drop-off from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to, I don't even know who would be the other safety, because Sidney Brown's not coming back till week 6.
Right.
I think it's longer than that, isn't it?
It might be longer than that.
I think it's more like Thanksgiving.
So what, is it Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to Cooper? Does Cooper DeJean go out to safety?
I guess James Bradbury.
Does Avonte Maddox,
maybe?
I don't know who the third safety is on the depth chart right now, where you go, I feel comfortable that if we lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they were lucky 2 years ago when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got hurt that Reed Blankenship actually played some decent football, which is why he was crowned a starter last year with zero competition. I thought that was outrageous. But the drop-off from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to the next guy might be the biggest drop-off. But then again, Bryce Huff to Nolan Smith, there's a lot of drop-offs.
Well, could be Bryce Huff to Brandon Graham in a smaller role. At least you have someone out there. At safety, there's a chance if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes down, you're going to have a guy who has not played that position at the NFL level have to take over.
That semester at Oxford actually made you smarter.
You're a smart guy, man.
I mean, because that is an interesting, but we all looked at it in different ways. But Connor may have looked at it the smartest in the idea that
clip that, be gone.
Yeah, I know. Please delete it.
That's our next open.
Through the eyes, the eyes of Vic Fangio.
It could be.
And that's a great way to look at it. And I was looking at it my way.
Exactly.
Isn't linebacker also really important in the Vic Fangio scheme?
We don't need to talk about that one.
Oh, my gosh.
Linebacker is important in the Howie Roseman scheme.
Bottom line is this. Does the national media, you think, look at us and think we're too hypercritical? And they look at this team and they see the Mona Lisa, and we see one of those Andy Warhol just throw a bunch of crap up against the thing and then go, oh, it's modern art.
If they think we're looking at it too critical, then they have the same mindset of Adam Schefter. Move on. Last year was last year. How many times has Adam Schefter said that to me? And even when we don't ask him about last year, he still makes the little quirk at some point during the interview and say, wow, I'm glad you guys haven't asked me about last year. I'm sorry, I can't completely ignore what happened last year.
I think the national media looks at what happened last year and says, dust off the shoulders.
Yeah, they might.
Put it behind you. We live it every day.
Exactly that.
And that's the big thing is that
Adam Schefter's not a fan of the Eagles. I am.
Adam doesn't live it every day. Adam doesn't go to walk into the Giant and have a conversation with some random guy that has an Eagles hat on that you say hello to each other. You go, boy, did you see that game yesterday?
I doubt Adam Schefter gets the Acme discount on Sundays.
He does
if you
not.
go in with your Eagles gear and you get the discount, I don't think he gets that.
He's because I've said before, he's the old Adam West Batman. Adam. He's very methodical. He's very analytical. He even speaks like him.
Right.
He's got that analytical way to him. We're living it. We're more emotional. But I think, how about this? I think Adam has better access to find out what the hell's really going on when we've got questions about the Eagles. But I think that we live, die, rinse cycle, wash cycle the Eagles more than these national experts.
And don't forget, Adam Schefter did say on this show a couple weeks ago that he thinks the Eagles' defense will be stellar. Right. So if he thinks that the Eagles' defense will be stellar, then what are we worried about? My question is, where do you see the stellar defense when there's still concerns about questions, I should say, about who's actually starting at certain positions? We've done the exercise a couple of times. Who are the lock starters on this team? And I don't want to say, read blank shit because of necessity. I mean,
right.
You look at that guy, you go, all right, that guy's the lock starter on this team. We know that the front four will be the front four. We know that it's going to be Bryce Huff and Josh Sweat on opposite sides, and it's going to be Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. We know that those are the lock starting four. You could probably find better options, but those are your lock starting four. Darius Slay is a lock starting corner on this team. That's 5. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a lock starting safety. That's 6. Is anybody else a lock?
I think you can put Devin White there at this point.
I can't.
No, but should you?
A lock?
I think he's going to be.
You have to.
I know.
Who else is going to play over him on
now
this?
You're scaring me, though. Now you're giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Well, I mean, I'm only reading you what the roster says. Who else is going to play over Devin White? They have very few guys with actual proven NFL experience.
Yeah, you got Oren Burks.
Oh, yeah. No, I forgot about Oren Burks.
You got that Oren Burks. I mean,
could be a competition.
It's amazing.
I thought he was one of the vice presidential candidates.
Might be.
I've never heard these names.
But it's amazing that the national media, and maybe we should celebrate it today, has the Eagles roster. A couple of national media websites, ESPN and Fox, has the Eagles roster at number 2. That includes the defense. We'd love to get your reaction to this at 610-632-0975. You can text the show. You can call the show. Is this Eagles defense better than what we think? Are we missing something? Or is the national media missing something? We'll get to your text messages coming up next. We'd love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. And the Phillies fall to the Twins yesterday. Mr. Locked On Phillies podcast. I was in bed, baby. So you got to.
I was up.
You got to take the lead for this one.
When I finally said I got to go to bed, they were winning.
Yeah.
And Ranger didn't look bad.
So it's your fault that they lost, John. You went to sleep. It's on you. So we'll do a little recap on the Phillies game yesterday as well. Still a lot to come for you on today's show. Speaking of the national media, there was something that we didn't get from Diana Rossini, or didn't play from Diana Rossini, that I can't wait to get to later on in the 7 o'clock hour. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
97.5 The Fanatic on this Tuesday morning. Talking a lot about the Eagles' defense today as ESPN and Fox both have the Eagles roster second best overall in the NFL. That includes the defense. So are we missing something? We'd love to hear from you. You can text in. You can call in 610-632-0975. We'll get to the text in a second. But real quick, Phillies lose last night, 7-2. Bryce Harper, it was an awesome start to the game with the 2-run home run. As you mentioned, John, I watched the first couple innings. The game didn't start till 9.
It was like 9-7.
Yeah,
it
something
seemed
like
like that. 9:15.
Ranger Suarez looked all right yesterday, and then I wake up and still not the Ranger that we saw for the first 2.5 months of the season.
It was not on him.
No, I'm not saying that it was.
They were like bloop hits, dude. He was just getting unlucky last night, so he looked significantly better.
But they end up losing 7-2. Panic has ensued on social media.
Stop it!
It's the guys.
For God's sakes, I just had to talk to Bill Brown on social media.
Nice.
The Phillies are 18-17 since London. They're 18-17 since London. I've had numerous people, and I finally had to respond. Well, the Phillies, they're below 500 since London. No, they aren't. They were 2 games over going into last night. Now could they be? Well, now if they're 500, it doesn't matter. When you build up the lead, you do. You're not going to play at a 700 baseball clip over 162.
Yep.
For God's sakes.
And this goes back.
Chill out.
This goes back to a topic that I had middays with Ray Dunn.
About what?
And mornings with you guys a couple months ago.
What's that?
Whether or not high expectations limit your enjoyment of a season.
Well, there are people. If people are going, this team's falling apart. I just had another one.
I know. I've seen it.
I know, but I had another one. Brian Joseph saying, "Are the Phillies facing the same fate as the Eagles last season? Is this going to fall apart at the end?"
We've had texts on that.
I said the only way it would be a collapse like that is if they let the Braves pass them. Let me tell you. There is 0% chance of that happening.
Our Bill Colarulo.
For God's sakes.
Late last night. Now, maybe this is a good thing because last time Bill tweeted something about the Phillies, Bryce Harper then became the best player in the world.
What's Bill doing now?
He said, I'm not overreacting to 5 games. But the Phillies lost their mojo.
Oh, stop.
Lost to the Athletics 18-3, Pirates 8-7, Pirates 4-1, win 6-0, lose last night 7-2. 1-4 in the last 5. Outscored 37-19. Ranger looks off. Bullpen looks shaky. Bats have been unreliable.
He's out of his mind if he says Ranger looks off. Last night, Ranger did not look off.
And I love the first response from D'Lo says they are in big-time trouble. And then Bill responds with, they'll be okay. They just need to get going again. So it looks like Bill is still confident, but the initial tweet does not really scream confidence.
They're fine. Everyone needs to calm down. Here's one thing. There is one minor concern. Okay. London, couple days off on either side, didn't play their best baseball. Coming off the All-Star break, couple days off, didn't play their best baseball. You're looking at a team that's probably going to have a couple days off before they play in the divisional round of the postseason.
So you're worried about that.
I just wonder if this is a trend, and this could just be baseball, right? Players love their routines. I don't think it's a Phillies-specific problem. We've heard other teams complain about this in past years with the new playoff structure and the time off in between. I just see this and I say, okay, I'm really going to keep an eye on the narrative when this Phillies team does lock up that bye and wait for the divisional series, or not the bye, but avoid the wild card round. Okay. Outside of that, there are no concerns with this team right now.
Yeah, there shouldn't be.
Ranger Suarez was not fantastic last night, but he looked like the old Ranger.
He was solid. Yeah, he was fine.
Looked like the old Ranger. That made me feel better. When I put my head in the pillow last night, I felt better about Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, and the only reason it wasn't like 4-2 was because Rob Thompson let Junior Marte just wear one.
Right.
And that's
by
tough,
the way, going into the rest of the week, that might be a really good thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he let him wear one.
You need to be able to save your arms at some point.
Because now you go out, you try to win the series. You got a Wheeler start. Hopefully your bullpen's going to even be more rested. And then you go into a nice little stretch here. That Guardians-Yankees homestand, they run through opposing bullpens.
Yeah.
They get into your bullpen. So you got 6 games coming up. Good on Rob there to let it.
I just think people need to.
Oh my gosh! Don't consume baseball like football.
I know, it's crazy.
Don't do
man.
it. Spare yourself. I said it. Look, this 19. I told you this is going to be a 19-game gauntlet. Started last night. 0-1. if they go 10-9, if they go 9-10, 10-9, I'm going to go, okay, that's good. Put it behind us because you're bleeding clock right now.
Right. Absolutely. You're just trying to get to the playoffs at
the
this
magic
point.
number is 55.
55.
Everybody breathe. The magic number is 55, and we have 8 games left before the calendar goes to August.
Yeah, we panicked that the Phillies lost yesterday.
my
The Braves
gosh.
lost yesterday to the Cincinnati Reds.
Like, seriously, folks.
All right,
and you saw what happened to Whit Merrifield.
Absolutely. You could text in, you could call in 610-632-0975. I know the text line is busy today with our Eagles discussion. What do we got?
So Sam checks in here. It says the Eagles' defense should be middle of the pack. We have a lot of question marks, and I'd say about half of them work out. I think we are underrating how good Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter will be, and also Huff. The linebackers will still be attacked relentlessly, and it won't go well. That's his evaluation of the Eagles' defense.
Look, we'll take middle of the pack.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely.
That you know what, middle of the pack, let's just use 15 as the number, because or 16 would be in the middle,
of the pack.
right?
Yes.
They jumped up double because they were 30th last year.
The Chiefs.
They jump up to 16?
The Chiefs beat you in the Super Bowl with, I believe, the 14th defense.
Yeah, so 16 you take.
I mean, you take that and you take your chances. And by the way, the Eagles' offense will be better than that offense.
Now, the question is the 16th ranked defense, like, can you call a team the second best roster in the NFL with the 16th ranked defense?
But maybe they feel like Adam Schefter does.
Maybe. Here's the problem with the Phillies. I don't think we get caught in the Philadelphia sports echo chamber.
Yeah.
And we compare the Phillies to the Phillies and not to any of the other teams around baseball that are worse than them. And that's why people freak out. I wonder if we compare the Eagles to the Eagles. And if you took a deeper look at rosters around the NFL, we'd realize what you thought last year, Andrew. Not that great.
It wasn't great.
Product.
It wasn't
not that
it wasn't
great of players.
But maybe, and this could be true, even though I do think quarterback play is taking a hit, and it's ridiculous how much money these guys are getting for not doing anything. Defenses may have just been better last year. They could have.
That's true.
They may have figured out what some of the offenses are doing. And in this top 10 list on Fox from overall rosters, 8 defenses better than the Eagles. That's on the top 10 list. I can only imagine if we keep on going, what other defenses we think highly of. And this isn't just me comparing the Eagles to the Eagles. Like, I think San Francisco has a better defense than the Eagles' defense.
I think they have a better defense and offense depth chart.
I think the Chiefs have a better defense. I think the Texans will wait and see, but they got some young talent on that defense. The Ravens definitely have a better defense. The Jets have a better defense. The Cowboys have a better defense. The Browns, far better defense than the Eagles' defense. But, of course, the Eagles' offense is better than a lot of those teams. So is it good enough for second? We're reacting to that today. You can text it. You can call in 610-632-0975. We get more of your text reaction coming up next. Also, John Kincade has a need. Not a wish.
A need for speed.
Not a want, but a need. We can all reach for the stars, Johnny. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Salciunas on this Tuesday morning. We welcome you in. We've talked a lot about the Eagles defense in the first hour of the show. That's not changing anytime soon. But, man, I can't wait to play something for you. Around 7:47, I will play it for you. Diana Rossini, yesterday, we've been talking so much about her report that it is still being a work in progress, the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, right? So I decided to just listen deeper into the podcast. And there was something that she said that vindicated all of us, John. Vindication.
What's that?
I'll tell you about it at 7:47.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you just yet.
You're supposed to tell me when I ask, though.
Well, yeah,
but it's all right.
Handy-dandy show sheet, baby.
There we go.
But I don't want to take away from this Eagles defense discussion just yet because I know a lot of people want to chime in about this on the text line. You can call in as well. The number is 610-632-0975. Our question today, are we missing something or is the national media missing something when it comes to this Eagles defense? Because ESPN and Fox Sports, they're doing their rankings of rosters as everybody's getting prepared for the start of the regular season, for the start of training camp, I should say. And the Eagles come in at number 2 on 2 lists. Their overall roster, that includes the defense, where we don't know where there's like 5 starters. Like, there are 5 positions where we don't exactly know who the starter will be. And it's not because of the great depth of the Eagles defense. It's because of the concerning depth at certain starting positions. Now, the Eagles offense is incredible. We know that.
It's incredible.
And so they will be top 10 regardless. But 2's high, man.
Is it the best depth chart ever on offense?
For the Eagles?
Franchise? I believe so. I believe so. They've never had a better tandem on the rise at wide receiver, ever. Not even close. Like, it's not even, if you talk about where Devontae Smith is in his development, year 4 coming up, the play of A.J. Brown, they've never had a better combo of wide receivers ever.
Yeah, running back is pretty high up there.
I mean, my first thought was 04 because of T.O. because of first ballot Hall of Famer.
But who's second?
Right.
I mean, seriously.
And I take
best.
Dallas Goedert over Chad Lewis.
Yes, but this is the best.
And Saquon.
This is the best we've ever seen.
Yeah, like if you were to dream up a team.
Stop. Don't you dare. He's about to drop Dream Team on us.
I know he was.
I'm just
You're not wrong, Johnny.
As the historian that I am, you could speak on this better.
Okay.
Carmichael, Quick, Montgomery, all on the same team, right?
Carmichael, Quick, Montgomery?
Weren't they all on this? I'm trying to rival it.
No, not even
I don't
close.
think you're wrong. I'm
there's
just trying to rival it.
First of all, offensive line's not even close.
Well, hold on.
Another thing.
I will give you one more that was ruined by Chip Kelly. Deshaun Macklin and Shady McCoy.
Better.
If Deshaun Jackson doesn't get cut for stupid stuff.
Macklin and Deshaun are not a better combination than A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
I agree. Firmly.
I don't even hesitate with that.
All right. I'm just trying to rival it, man.
They're not even in
I don't think you're wrong.
I think physically, like, the physical force, and the reason Macklin, Deshaun Jackson, very, very talented guys that I loved. But the idea is they didn't have the physicality of A.J. Brown.
Oh, yeah. It
changes everything.
That's why A.J. Brown is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Should be higher. I think ESPN had him 6th. He should be like top 5 if we're being honest. But, yeah, I mean, the Eagles' offense is amazing. It's prolific. It's, as you said, John, maybe the most talented Eagles offense on paper.
I don't think it's
going into a season.
There's no doubt in my mind it's the most talented.
So is it so good that that's why they're at number 2? Or are we missing something with the defense that maybe the national media thinks higher of the defense and we just lived through absolute pain last year and we can't get over that just yet? You can text and you can call in 610-632-0975. We also brought the Phillies onto the table. Everybody just needs to take a big, deep breath. A big, deep breath, even though I think a lot of you are refusing to do that. We'll get into more Phillies talk as well. But what do we have on the text line? Connor. And then, John, you have a need. Yes. That we'll get into in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so real quick, our boy Bill S. You know Bill S., Andy.
Yes.
I don't know if John does, but he got a little bit annoyed at John for the Andy Warhol crack. He's a painter, so he says cool it on the
on my man.
That Andy Warhol, when he's going to paint a tomato can? He's going to paint a tomato can? I'm just going to say.
He's pretty good with tomato cans. Hey,
that's great. It's like tomato can. That's a.
It's a living.
You paint a tomato can.
We have a text here, though. No name on this one. They say it's hard to justify them being second with their defense, but with every rule catered to offense in the sport these days, it is plausible to say they belong that high based on the caliber of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with the offense, it's definitely up there.
Wait a minute. Was Bill Strobel?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a Bill Strobel original that I actually sanctioned. Is that what you do with a painting? Do you sanction someone to paint you something? Bill Strobel.
I thought that's what you did with Andrew's NCAA.
Bill Strobel
football
painted
team.
an amazing piece for our home as a housewarming gift to my wife and daughter when they moved to Philly. Bill's one of the most talented artists in town. I love it.
Yeah, so
he
easy
doesn't
on
paint
Andy
tomato.
Worrell.
He doesn't paint tomato cans.
Could if he wanted to. But what do you guys think about that? Like the rules being catered to the offense means the offensive skill level is more valuable to a team's overall ceiling.
It makes logical.
It makes sense. I mean, it's an offensive league. It goes back to what you said earlier in the show. Does anybody say defense wins championships anymore? Like,
If they
no.
do, they probably have snow on the rooftop.
Yep.
Like I do.
And
Because that is an old reference.
now, defense might need to make one or two plays in order to win, so
why
that's
I
not
think
much.
An opportunistic defense is one thing.
Which
that
they
can
weren't
turn the
last
ball
year.
over. Correct.
Which they absolutely weren't last
Which
year.
they will be this year. Vic
Yes.
Fangio's numbers tell you they will be.
Now, I'm going to add you one more list of rosters. I just found NFL.com. Now, this was from May, so I wonder
Okay,
if they
a
will
little
do
different.
an updated one. But this from May, they had San Fran at 1, which all ESPN and Fox, and now also in NFL.com, all has San Francisco at number 1.
I have them at number 1.
And I think a lot of people do. I think
Most
everybody probably
balanced.
should.
They're the most balanced roster
Right.
in the NFL.
And again, this isn't best chance of winning or
Right,
who
right.
are winners. Like, this is just roster construction. Baltimore number 2. That makes sense to me. Now, skill positions other than Mark Andrews, I think still have some question marks, but you have a 2-time MVP at quarterback and you have a ridiculously good defense. Kansas City comes in at 3.
Okay.
Detroit at 4. And then the Eagles come in at 5.
Okay, I think that is a list that more matches mine.
I agree.
I think that makes more sense.
And again, if you have the quarterback, the Eagles quarterback coming in at 13,
right.
12, how can you be the number 2 roster in all of football? If you don't have a top 10 quarterback, you can't be a top 2 roster. You can't. Like, that's where that doesn't make sense to me.
But even with that 5, the Eagles average out on those 3 lists to being in the 3rd position.
Right. And
Right.
I have no problem with, if you said 5 or 6 for the Eagles roster, I'd be fine with it. But I just don't get it otherwise.
By the way, the reason why I love NFL.com the least biased
Why?
out of all of them, no Dallas in the top 10.
Okay. See, I think-
Which I just is amazing to me.
Perfect list.
You don't think Dallas's roster?
They might be able to be in the conversation.
No, I'm saying it's not their coach, their roster.
Right. The roster should
Their roster's
probably be in the
impressive.
conversation,
Yeah.
but you know that some of these lists put them in on purpose
Just
in
to
the top
get
10.
just to get the eyeball.
Well, NFL.com, the least biased out of all of them. All right, John,
Yeah,
you have a need,
I do.
and I have needs too.
I don't want to hear about yours.
All right, easy in there.
I do not want to hear about yours.
So, please explain your need. Not want, not wish,
No,
not
this
hope,
is a
not
need.
prayer. Your need.
I want the Eagles to have a defensive rookie of the year. Or at the very least, it to be like last year where Jalen Carter got edged out at the very end, where for the majority of the season, the Eagles had a defensive player who was right there for the defensive rookie of the year. It has happened 3 times in the past 9 awards that the player has been a corner. And in my mind, that's where we have to look. Because I believe how about this one? A defense that is softer up front is going to require an offense. I mean, it's going to require a secondary that is more opportunistic, more ball hawking, more impactful. I believe the Eagles can have that this year. And I wonder whether you agree with me that right now, if you look at what the Eagles have, that we could look at a defensive rookie of the year, Quinyon Mitchell, to be that guy. And no, I wasn't talking about, I purposely tried not to say it because I wondered if people were going to say, oh, well, maybe he's talking about somebody else. I'm not. Quinyon Mitchell's got to be the guy. He has to be the player that they thought he was going to be. And I think Cooper DeJean can make his impact, but I don't see him. I don't think they're going to use him enough that he would have that impact. I do believe that Quinyon Mitchell is going to get a ton of look, ton of snaps, and be able to make an impact. And I'm talking like over 3.5 picks, a rookie impact. I need it. Big time.
Now, my first reaction is I need Sydney Sweeney to come on to me and my wife be okay with it and still have a happy marriage.
She already told me.
But
and that's
Indy
not the girl
morning?
from the Biggest Loser.
No.
Not Allison Sweeney.
Very
Okay, I
different.
just want to make sure. Okay.
don't know who that is.
Okay.
I know who Sydney Sweeney is, though. Now, here's the thing. My first reaction is you're crazy. But
Crazy. Okay.
when you think about the NFL draft, what was it? The first 14 players were all offensive players?
Correct. That's one of my reasonings here is Quinyon Mitchell was one of the handful of first defensive players off the board.
Right.
So shouldn't we assume that he would be in that conversation?
Conversation, yes. The biggest question is whether or not he's a starter. I agree with you. I want him to start. I don't necessarily want James Bradbury to be the starter. I'd rather go with the youth movement. We've talked about this a lot. Darius Slay is going to be there. It's okay to start doing youth movement in other areas, even though you're paying James Bradbury. You saw what James Bradbury was last year. Now he could bounce back this year.
I
We'll
do
see.
believe. I've already told
have
you.
said that a
He's
couple
on my
times.
list. I think James Bradbury, there are going to be a couple games this year where we go, wow, lucky we didn't give him away.
But one of the biggest problems for me is the fact that it's not a lock that he's a starter. And my one guy that I'll look at a little bit more, and you know what? I'm curious to see if my sports book of choice, but FanDuel, but you guys check yours as
Okay.
well.
Oh, I have it already. Defensive Rookie of the Year odds.
All right,
Yeah, you
I
do
have
have
not
it.
seen them. I'm my first guess, without looking hand of God, without looking at it, and I might be way off because I didn't look at it. My first guess is Terry Arnold, who was another corner that the Eagles had eyes on, and he went to the Lions where I think he's going to start. I think I know he's going to start. I don't
Terry and
know.
Arnold tied in odds with Quinyon Mitchell.
Okay, where?
Fourth best.
Wow. Okay.
Now the question is, Connor, and I did not look at it. Do you agree with the three that are ahead of them?
It's so hard to tell because the three ahead of them are in weird situations defensively.
Is it a pass rusher, two of them?
Yes.
Because that is always valued more as
It
far
is.
as rookies making
A
an
lot
impact.
cleaner of a statistical evaluation. I'll just give it to you. Like the top odds.
Let's do it.
Oh, let me ask: is Latu on there?
Tied for the best odds.
Because he was the first defensive player off the board, even though I didn't want him because
I did not want him.
he's a fireman.
He wants to be a fireman.
and we already did that.
And,
I
and
can't.
also, by the way, Pac-12, I do not want Pac-12 defensive players.
And the reason why he wanted to be a fireman was he was hurt, started thinking about life after football, gave it a go. Great stories,
Liked
first
it.
round pick.
Liked it.
But I'm glad he didn't get drafted by the Eagles. I already dealt with a first round fireman, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, fair enough. He's tied for best odds at plus 430 with Dallas Turner of the Minnesota Vikings. Who a lot of
Okay.
people talked about. No idea how he fell to the Vikings.
Okay.
Jared Verse is plus 1,000.
Jared Verse is a guy that we talked about a lot. We just didn't think they were going to necessarily go edge rusher because
I like
it
Verse.
wasn't need.
But I wouldn't. No,
And then it's Quinyon Mitchell and Terry and Arnold tied at plus 1,200.
Okay.
I actually don't.
So?
I don't mind the chances. That's what I need. What we got last year was Jalen Carter storming onto the scene, making an impact, leading the defensive rookie of the year betting numbers. I had put a bunch of tickets on him, by the way.
Right.
A bunch of free tickets I kept putting on him. And then he loses out at the end. I still think he should have won. But we need that
Did he
this
end up
year.
losing to Will Anderson?
Yes.
Okay.
Will Anderson
Who
won.
was the first defensive player off the board
He was.
in that draft.
And I think that's where he lost at the end because I think Jalen Carter actually, to me, was a better overall player.
Right. And then there's, obviously Houston was on
Sure.
the rise.
And they were on the rise. And the Eagles were on the decline.
Sometimes popularity
Yeah, absolutely.
helps a little
and
bit.
By the way,
What have you done for me lately?
And not to, I'm not here licking boots on Jalen Carter here. Jalen Carter in the last month did himself no favors. as far as
Right.
not keeping the same level of impact, and that hurt. So that's what I need. I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to get play, and yes, on my BetPark Sportsbook app, I will bet Quinyon Mitchell. I will put down like a 20 to start, and then I will put some free bets. When I get the free bet stuff, I will put it on Quinyon Mitchell and load up and hope for the best.
I can't wait. Right before the season starts, we're going to have to do a big show where we're talking about season awards, division winners, prop bets.
They could do a whole week.
John and Andrew lose all their money.
I say we do a whole week on it.
Yeah,
I'm all for the whole week.
Maybe.
Let's do it.
Do Phil's 64 while we're at it.
No, we're not going to do that.
All right.
We didn't invent that.
Can you please give us another text on today's topics? Connor, 610-632-0975. Then we'll go to the phones as well, because the Phillies are on the table because people are spiraling out of control. The Phillies are not spiraling out of control. The Phillies fans are spiraling out of control. But what do we have on the text line, Connor?
Tom from Delco checks in and asks, how many points will our offense average during the season? I'm thinking about 28, so our defense can't let up more than that, and I believe our defense is going to be good enough to hold teams under 28. Maybe they're looking at holding opponents and how much position that puts you in to win.
I think Tom and Delco?
Yes.
That's not my brother, but I think that is a very intelligent sports fan. My guess would be 28 is right. If you're playing prices right, that's right about where the Eagles' offense is going to be. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to think that they get just below 30. I'll go like 29.2, 28.9. I think they're going to be just below 30.
So they were 7th last year.
What were they? 25 and a half. 25 and a half. That would put them in the top 3 if they're.
So my first thought was 27, but it would be nice if it was higher.
27 usually means you're a top 5.
So they were 25 and a half last year. The Bills were 26 and a half. Your top 5: Lions 27.1,
right?
Ravens 28.4, Niners 28.9, Dolphins 29.2.
Well, they scored 71 games, so that gets thrown off.
And then the Cowboys number 1 at 29.9. Remember, they went on a stretch where they scored like 40 points in like 2 or 3 straight games. Remember, they just beat up on the Commanders.
Oh my gosh!
So, you know, some games will
even
skyrocket them, and then some will bring you down. The Eagles, unfortunately, had a lot of games that brought them down toward the end, and also why they fell apart.
Remember, 27 is the number. You get 27. First of all, 27 guaranteed. How about this one for you? And I haven't updated on last year's numbers. 27 points a game. You are going to make the playoffs greater than 9 out of 10 times. So just know that. And a 27 number, to me, is usually going to put you in the top 5. So you're going to be a top 5. I don't think we should expect anything less.
No, absolutely not.
Like we should not. We should be annoyed. If this team's around 25 points, which sounds ridiculous, we should be annoyed.
Absolutely.
That they're not doing enough.
Totally agree with you. All right, let's go to Joe in Philly. Joe, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? So I just want to say, I definitely agree with you guys. Listen, the Phillies are going through a rough stretch right now. It is what it is. It's baseball. I want to add Sanchez and Suarez. This is the most they've thrown in a while, so they're going to struggle.
In a while, their whole lives. I mean, Ranger Suarez, remember, when he first comes up, there was questions about whether or not he'd be a starter or a long man, and he's already getting close to his career high in innings pitched, and we're only in July.
And I don't think Sanchez is struggling. Do you? I mean, I think Sanchez is he's actually picked up his game.
I'm not saying he's struggling, but I'm saying, every once in a while they're going to have a bad
right, absolutely.
Correct.
They're not And then one thing on the Eagles, I will say, I think the only reason why they're saying that, they're number 2 overall is because of the addition of Fangio as the coordinator. That's the only reason I could think, because other than that, I don't really have another reason, because there's a lot of guys on the team that need to prove something, and we won't know that until halfway through the year.
Yeah,
Good job, Joe.
And that could be, Joe. Thanks for the call, man. But it's still amazing. We're hoping that Fangio moves them from 30 to 15.
Fangio's numbers, again, I tell you, what we should expect, his average is around 12.
Yeah, but is that roster evaluation?
No,
Does he
right.
play
That's
in?
what I'm saying.
Let's
say they're 12 and the offense is 3. That doesn't add up to second best roster in the NFL.
It doesn't.
But I'm thrilled.
But it adds up to a division title.
Absolutely.
And maybe a 1 or 2 seed.
And ultimately, John, that's all that freaking matters, not these lists. We're just reacting to them on July 23rd. All right, coming up next, Speaking of ESPN, they were talking about Nick Sirianni yesterday.
Uh-oh.
And whether or not he is a championship-winning head coach. Clearly, he got to the Super Bowl. Hear the reaction of two former NFL players that were on the set, one of which we know and love in this city.
Really?
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
It's football season, folks.
Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Good Tuesday morning to you. A lot of focus has been on the Eagles' defense today. We've mixed in some Phillies as well because everybody needs to take a deep freaking breath.
Oh, come on, people.
Like I said earlier, the only thing that's spiraling out of control is not the Phillies. It's a lot of Phillies fans.
No, I think, and let's call it out. Let's call it for what it is. Bill Colarulo is the guy who yells fire in a movie theater. He did it with Bryce Harper, and now he's doing, I'm not saying anything, but it's only 5 games. Stop it.
But it worked last time, so hopefully it's happening again.
He may have become self-aware, and he may be doing this to jumpstart the Phillies.
I respect it. I would respect it. If he has that kind of power, I would respect it.
I want to stop it right now. I want this stopped.
Dude, it's not just him. There are a lot of Phillies fans that are in a panic. It's crazy, man.
It's incredible. Stop it.
All right, we'll get back to the Eagles defense discussion. We'll get back to your texts and your calls in a second. You can climb in at 610-632-0975. But something that I saw this morning on ESPN.com, I always check out the Eagles tab, the Phillies tab, Sixers, Flyers, right? It's what we do. It's what I do every single morning. And so yesterday on Get Up, they got into a conversation about Nick Sirianni and whether or not he is a championship-winning head coach. And there's two people that we're going to play for you, both former NFL players, one of which we know and love in this city, and that's Herm Edwards. We love the coach, right? Herm is awesome. Now, full disclosure, I don't know if Herm necessarily answered the question.
Okay.
But Herm addressed a concern of his that I want to know if you have said concerns. Well, I don't think you do, John.
And the question was,
is he a championship-winning head coach?
Okay.
So we'll play Herm's first, and then I'll have to set up the second one because it's a bust-out NFL name that I think he's trying to get into the media a little bit. You'll remember him once we talk about him, but he said something so spot on, probably because he's new to the media, so he probably did a lot of digging, a lot of research, and he was so spot on with what he said about Nick Sirianni. But here's Herm Edwards talking about Coach Sirianni and something that he's going to have to work on this year.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on him in this sense. He loses two veterans on his football team, Fletcher Cox and Kelsey, right? That's the glue of this football team, two wily veterans that he could lean on, because that's what head coaches do. You got to lean on certain players. Those guys are gone. Now, he knows he has a good football team, and it's not good enough to get in the playoffs. This team is expected to make a run at the Super Bowl. So Coach understands that because he has a team that can do that.
So it didn't really answer the question, but he brought
didn't really answer it.
But he brought up the Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox thing. Now, we've talked about the veteran leadership and how that may have lost a little bit last year. And maybe not to the fault of Kelsey and Cox, maybe to the fault of the younger players that stopped listening.
Okay.
It could also be that, they could also be to blame. We shouldn't just blame
No.
Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey for the locker room kind of falling apart.
Well, I do question anytime I hear veteran leadership in a locker room. That you have to have players that are willing to be led. So it could be a problem on the veteran leaders failed, or it could be on the followers failed.
And I will say this: if you're one of the younger players and you stop listening to two Super Bowl champions,
you're a problem.
Then I question, all right, then why aren't you listening to two guys that have been in the league that both will be in Canton one day? By the way, it's not like. I don't know why Howell Neto was the first person I thought of.
What is that?
Howell Neto, a vet in the NBA, but that guy stinks.
That might be the biggest ricochet shot I've ever heard you make.
Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox are two veterans that won Super Bowls that are going to Canton. If you stop listening to them, then that's kind of a problem on your own part.
That's on you, yeah.
But Sirianni not having those two guys to lean on. He does still have Brandon Graham, which is good to have.
Sure it is. But Brandon Graham is always
positive.
Sunshine and lollipops.
Yeah, but we don't know behind closed doors what he's like.
The entire slide last year, he kept telling us everything's okay.
Gotta get through the storm, man.
Everything's fine. He was Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, and then he said it was media driven that Sean Desai got demoted, which I respect Brandon Graham 99.9%. When you say
not on that one.
When you say Sean Desai was his move, him getting demoted was a media driven decision. I'm sorry, BG. I can't see the eye there.
No, and we all love and respect him.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you're just trying to be nice.
And that was too much.
Yeah, that was too much.
Does Herm make a point though? I'm gonna guess Sirianni can lean on a guy like A.J. Brown. I think they do have a good relationship together. I think A.J. Brown showed that by
absolutely
manning up to the rogue play.
Well, exactly. What it was funny is Bob said it yesterday on the show. I heard him say it on the way home. That, then Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown came out and said what they did in Seattle. I'm like, no. Correct that. Only A.J. Brown did. Jalen Hurts did not own up to it. He got put into the spotlight because A.J. Brown finally came out and said, I'm not going to let my head coach look like an idiot.
Right, by saying we tried getting a pass interference down the field. Remember, that was Nick Sirianni's original point.
And by the way, Nick Sirianni got clowned on NFL Live for that.
Oh, yeah.
Got clowned on SportsCenter for it.
As he should have been, because that's what we thought.
And then we found out the truth thanks to A.J. Brown.
Right. So is there a veteran leadership team that he can lean on this year?
I don't believe there is. I mean, I believe on the offensive side of the ball, everything should be fine. Defensive room? I don't know, because I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this, and it's not popular. It's not going to be popular. I don't believe that Darius Slay, as much as I respect him as a player, I think he'd be a lousy leader. Because he's a finger pointer, and he's a not me, going on his podcast and being the not me. Don't look at me. I played a great game. Wasn't me. That, to me, is lousy leadership from a veteran.
I don't know why you think you would get hate for that.
Because I think a lot of people do.
I love Darius Slay.
I'm a big...
Love him.
And you and I both are very much like... he didn't have a bad year last year.
No, he didn't have a bad year 2 years. He has been everything that you have paid him for, except for maybe interception total, but that might be more so the defense. It's not a playmaking defense that we've seen the last couple years. He's been tremendous. I hated the podcast stuff last year.
Well,
Hated it.
There's a lack of self-awareness that comes with... If you're going to do a podcast during the season, come on now. You can do a
podcast during the season. Just don't say, I played fine. The rest of my team played for you-know-what. And then if I'm a player in the locker room, that gets back to me. I go, yo, dude, thanks for putting me on blast.
That is not leadership.
I know I played like crap, but I don't need you telling the world that I play, how bad I played.
That's not leadership.
So it's something to keep an eye on as this season goes on. Who's Sirianni? And look, we won't see it. We'll have to hear about it. Remember, I think I asked, was it Andrew DeCecco? I forget who I asked, who is kind of taking that lead now that Jason Kelce's gone, and Jordan Mailata has been the name that's popped up a lot. Remember, Mailata was a lot more vocal last year, and I think that may have been the ushering in now that Jason Kelce is gone. We kind of saw that with Kyle Schwarber last year. Reese Hoskins was still the vocal leader, but once that injury goes down, somebody has to take over, and Schwarber's done that in the past. Right. I think Mailata's kind of taken that role. But who else will be the guys that Nick Sirianni can lean on? That's something that we're going to be hearing about as the season goes on. Now, this other clip I want to play from you. Do you remember the name? Well, you remember the name. Harry Douglas, wide receiver, played for the Falcons, so you obviously remember him. And
how he's I would tell you that he is a talented guy, and he is working his backside off in the industry.
Yes,
he works every day with Freddie Coleman now.
Oh, that's cool.
Him and Freddie Coleman.
He's great.
And Freddie Coleman's one of the best people in the industry.
So I want to play this for you, even though there might be somebody in the car right now going, Harry Douglas. Well, first off, he knows more about football than any of us because he played in the NFL for 9 seasons, 6 years with the Falcons, 3 with the Tennessee Titans. He's trying to become somebody in the media, right? But what I respect out of this guy, he didn't take the Orlando Skandrick route of, let me just say these horrible things about the Eagles to try to get invited back on whatever his show was, Skip Bayless's show.
Right.
Which one's that? First Take?
Oh, no,
that's Stephen A.
I forget that one, yeah.
Anyways, Undisputed.
Yeah. The one that he just quit.
Let me say something ridiculous so I get on another episode. Remember, I think he was only on it like 2 more times, and then they said, all right, we're done with you. Let's move on to the next guy. Harry Douglas comes out and actually gives a legitimate answer, and it's something that we haven't heard many media members outside of Philly say.
throughout that adversity last season. In the last 7 games, they went 1-6, including the playoffs. Remember, Nick Sirianni was asked, and he was like, well, we're still trying to find answers. You're the head coach. You find the answers, and you fix what the problem is.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. That's why you get paid the money you get paid, so you can understand what's going wrong with your football team and figure out how you can pinpoint it and fix it. Also, from a blitz standpoint, offensively, you can't allow that to go on continuously over and over and over again. You got to figure that out. You're the head man in charge. Show a little bit more maturity and get your team together.
I think
that's a great answer, dude.
That was a great answer, and it's obvious that he did his homework.
Yes,
and Harry's a really, really good dude, hard worker. What I would say is this, though: if anyone says that Nick Sirianni is not a championship-winning coach or that caliber, did you not watch the Super Bowl?
Just 2 years ago.
The Super Bowl, with a minute to go, was tied.
Yeah.
If you say that the guy, he can't win a title, you're honestly, you're brain dead. You have no function. Absolutely no function. Because Wes, if a guy has his team in a position to win the Super Bowl with a minute to go tied, and his quarterback gave the other team a touchdown that they didn't earn, that Jalen Hurts gave it by accident. Not killing him, but it's what it was. He absolutely should have won a Super Bowl. If his quarterback doesn't kick away a ball off his own knee, he would have won a Super Bowl.
Maybe Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon got him to that point, just like Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio will do it this year.
There very well could be, and I'm not saying that wasn't the case, but he absolutely, with 2 competent coordinators, Nick Sirianni can absolutely be riding on a float and having a great time.
I just love that he said part of the reason why I love the answer so much is because I've been screaming that stuff. You're the head coach. You had 2 months to come up with a plan, and you came up with, oh no, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing even though we're spiraling out of control. And then the blitz thing. How many times did we scream about blitz pickup?
It was incredible.
Against Wink Martindale, Todd Bowles, pressure coaches, and they had no plan. All right, coming up next, speaking of the coordinators, Diana Rossini's podcast. We played a lot of it yesterday of one clip. I think there's something even more important that we shouldn't be stunned to hear, but it confirms what we all believed. You'll hear that next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP.
Be great. That'd be
great.
fantastic.
We do not want to be discussing that
No,
anymore.
of course not. So I thought, let me listen more to the podcast because maybe there was something that was cut out that we missed, right? That was a part of this. By the way, her co-host is Chase Daniel, Eagle legend.
Okay, that is good.
So they talked about the Eagles for more than a minute, right? Again, the clip that we had was only about 30 seconds. They talked about the Eagles a lot. It was a big Eagles podcast for them. Take a listen to what she says about Howie Roseman and his involvement with the team, which we know he runs the show here. But listen to what she says about the coordinators.
In the red zone, the Philadelphia Eagles want to run the ball. That's what they do. And teams know that. You can't get away with it 2 years in a row. So any defensive coordinator I ever spoke to last year, that's what they prepared for because they knew Sirianni really wanted to be conservative in that area. So here we are now, the year ends, Brian Johnson gets fired. And, going back to that time when they were making changes, there were some question marks. What direction was this team going to go in? Was Nick Sirianni going to keep his job? The guy had had so much success with this team. How could you move on from him was the thinking inside the building. I had people that work for the team texting me, asking me, are you hearing anything? How could this be? There were just a lot of question marks. But at the end of the day, it's Howie Roseman that has the power now. And look, he always has the power, right? That's nothing new for Philadelphia. But in terms of moving forward into this season, Howie had his hands all over the decisions when it came to the coordinator position.
I get it. Can I say one thing about that?
What?
Diana's reporting that like it's news. Nick Sirianni has never had more power than Howie Roseman at any time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nick Sirianni has never. I don't know that there's any coach since Howie's been in control that has had more power than him, other than Andy Reid.
This was very selfish of me. I just wanted to be vindicated because Nick Sirianni has lied to us saying that he hired Kellen Moore.
Oh, okay. No.
That he hired Vic Fangio.
And none of us believe that.
That he was the reason why Sean Desai got demoted and Matt Patricia got promoted last year.
Well, that's part of the reason I believe that Howie is here. I mean, that Nick is here.
Might be.
Is because when the move went down, what does the lead man in charge as the coach, whether it was his call or not? Nick Sirianni will take the bullet.
Yes, he will.
Nick Sirianni would have been really, really effective as a Secret Service agent. Because he'll honestly, he will throw himself in front of to protect something.
Yeah.
I believe he protects Howie Roseman. And by the way, I admire the hell out of Nick Sirianni for it, and I think it's exactly what Nick Sirianni should do. You knew the job description when you took it.
Yeah.
And part of that is Howie's going to be pulling strings behind the scenes, but you're going to take bullets for him. And you know what? I admire Nick Sirianni for doing what's best for an organization.
You might admire that.
I do.
But it basically confirms my belief that he's still here because he said yes.
I absolutely think you are not in any way making a huge jump to think that. You're not making some absurd leap.
So did they really keep the best man for the job?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know because I don't know.
That's my question.
No, but I don't know who they would have hired.
He did not hire Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Howie Roseman did, right?
Right.
Nick Sirianni, good for him. I would have done the exact same thing. I would not. I'm not like Doug Peterson. You want me to throw that guy under the bus so I can keep my job?
You want me to throw Press Taylor under the bus?
Right.
If Press Taylor was
good to know, Andrew, by the way.
Well, no, you guys, I like you guys more than Press Taylor.
But if Press Taylor was a really, really impressive, can't miss kind of guy,
then
Doug Peterson
fight
could go
for the
to
guy.
war for him.
But he wasn't. Mike Groh wasn't. Like, these guys weren't. So Doug Peterson was like, you know what? These are my guys. I'm going to go down with the ship. And Jeffrey Lurie said, all right, well, I'm sorry. That's not what we want. You're fired. Nick Sirianni goes, get rid of Brian. Yeah, Sean, Matt, I don't care about them. I don't care about their families. Get rid of them. I want my job still. I don't blame Nick Sirianni for doing that.
I don't blame him for it.
But that tells me, that clip right there from Diana Rossini confirms, I can't say confirms totally, adds to my belief that Nick Sirianni is still the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles because he said, yes, Howie, yes, Jeffrey, please hire Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, two of the hottest commodities that are out there. And if I said no, you would have fired.
And I don't know what other candidate was out there that they would have been better off with. And I think they did the right thing by keeping him. I think they did
Maybe.
the right thing.
I don't know if they kept the best man for the job. We get to talk to Jeff McLane about this more coming up next. He joins the show at 8:10. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05. And I want to get to a couple of your texts coming up next. Before all of it, you can text the show at 610-632-0975. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. have a safe trip into work today.
There you go.
We got Jeff McLane joining us in about 10 minutes. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up in 5. Going to get to a text message in a minute. But I got to ask you something, John.
Okay.
Now, I know it's a little different, but I imagine it all ends up being the same. Any tips on potty training?
Yes. You have to get Prudence.
Dear Prudence, like the song from the Beatles?
No. There is and anybody could go to YouTube right now
Right.
and find Prudence and the potty song.
Ah.
There is a potty song and a potty video. And remember, though, girls are easier to potty train than boys.
Yes.
So Christina literally trained Liv in less than a week with Prudence. The video. By putting a potty in the middle of the living room. So one of her little potty seats in the middle of the living room, like, where the kids are where kids playing and everything. And then Prudence has a potty song, and the kids watch the video and everything, and you make a big deal when they
the big deal,
But she also just put her in a shirt, like a Winnie the Pooh.
Okay, gotcha.
So the kid, she did not have a diaper did not have it, and it challenges the kid to.
All right.
And I'm telling you, it can work.
I'm open to any tips.
Oh, well, John's doing it the complicated way. My parents just put me on a leash, put me on around the tree out back. So
that's good.
I'm open
the
to
summer months were better than the winter months.
Any real parenting tips on potty training.
They say, though, much harder for boys than girls.
He's doing all right.
But it's a longer process. Girls pick it up much faster.
I'm open to any tip from our listening audience. Please, sometimes I like to, help me help you. Help me. Just please help me. I need it. All right, what do we have on the text line today, Connor, about our topics before we get to headlines with you?
All right, we got a bunch of people checking in on this type of, recently, the Nick Sirianni conversation we were having about him being a championship coach.
Okay.
First-time texter here, no name on this one, but they say, John, if your thought on Nick Sirianni is he's a championship coach because he got that close, is Dan Quinn a championship coach because he was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl?
No, the question was, could he win a championship? Absolutely. Dan Quinn could win a championship. He showed it. You could. It doesn't mean just because you're like a game is tied. You get to overtime of the Super Bowl with a chance to win. Yes, you could be a coach that could win a Super Bowl. Lots of less than high caliber coaches have won Super Bowls.
That's true. Mike McCarthy.
No
I've
question.
said that Mike McCarthy's literally a boob.
I mean, nobody thinks that Doug Peterson's a genius, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Doug P.
We love Doug P.
He's kind of lost his luster in the NFL.
Right, but he's not like nobody considers him an innovator or.
Yeah, like I really wonder. I've thought about this a lot recently, and it's hard because I love Doug Peterson for what he did.
Of course we do.
As you take a sip out of your big Eagles mug, right? Like
there it is.
If it doesn't work out in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, who was supposed to be like the next Peyton Manning, right? Does Doug get another gig?
No. Head coach? No.
Because when he got fired from the Eagles, I remember debating that he would get another job. I was like, he was a Super Bowl winning head coach.
I knew he'd get one more shot.
Does he get another shot if it doesn't work in Jacksonville?
I don't know, man.
Brian Billick. You win a Super Bowl and everything, then someone's going to give you. A lot of times they don't. The league will tell you.
Yeah,
he's not getting a third.
It's just sad. Like
he's not getting a third.
I love Doug.
So do I.
Big balls, Doug. Like I love Doug Peterson.
But he's not going to be a head coach.
And if it doesn't work
out,
this I guess last chance this year.
Oh, it is last chance.
Prove it.
No, it's last chance.
Well, you just paid Trevor Lawrence, so you're probably going to want to give it a little bit of continuity.
If he does not coach Trevor Lawrence well, they just paid Trevor Lawrence, so he's not going anywhere.
Wait a minute. Are you saying, like, Connor, if there's no way that Doug Peterson survives, I think, even if they don't win a playoff game.
Like the Eagles,
they have to win a playoff game.
The Eagles just paid Jalen Hurts. Hurts ain't going anywhere.
So you're telling me if Jacksonville's like second in the AFC South, and then you go into a situation where you run into Kansas City in the postseason and you lose that game.
Who would they be second to?
The Texans.
How quick did that happen?
Pretty darn quick. But
yeah.
I don't know.
The NFL is like that, man. It's a different beast. They might say, hey, Doug's a great 500 coach. the days of Marvin Lewis are done, where the guy can survive for 20 years.
And 8-8 was his record over and over again.
Same with Jeff Fisher. Like, those days are done, man.
That's
the
done.
NFL now is like,
roll the dice.
You were our first round quarterback, and you haven't really done anything for it. Justin Fields. Sorry, we got Caleb Williams. Like, that's the NFL these days. All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
All right, boys, I'm going to need you to put your physics caps on for this question. I'm about
I
to
didn't
ask you.
have one.
No, physics is in a fun way. So, earlier this week,
Did not do well in that class.
what do you do before you're about to go back to work? You have a big blowout summer party, and you have some of your teammates over. That's what Landon Dickerson did. He had a bunch of his teammates over his new house. Lawn looked immaculate.
Did you
thanks
see
to his
this,
lawnmower.
John? Did you see this? Oh, dude, it's awesome.
Giant slip and
Oh, no, I
slide
did.
with a
I
bunch
did
of his
now.
Eagles teammates.
Okay, you're right.
And giant because they're 300 pounds. Like,
Yeah.
this thing, like, this wasn't the little yellow one.
No, this
that-
was
that
like
we
the
had as
tarp
kids.
that
Yeah.
you put out. Like, yeah.
No, this was the rain delay tarp.
Exactly.
This is basically.
You ever had a
basically
redneck
Citizens
friend growing
Bank
up?
Park.
You been on one of these? Or
I have not, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
So
yes.
here's my question to you. Which Eagle, let's say unlimited slip and slide, which Eagle can go the furthest?
Jordan Mailata. Most speed. It's either Jordan Mailata or Jordan Davis. 'Cause remember,
See, now you're already flipping. It's a tough question.
no, because I'm thinking of their running ability and then their body type.
Yeah.
Like, what's Newton's is the second law?
An object in motion remains in motion.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Object at rest stays at rest.
so
Principle of inertia.
I don't know what's stopping Mailata and Jordan Davis other than like a brick wall at the end of it.
That's true. Okay, that's
It's
a good
one of
point,
those-
Johnny.
It's got to be one of those two. Honestly, I was thinking Mailata was my first thought.
You don't think about like A.J. Brown burning.
No.
We're going to give him a 15-yard start until they hit the tarp. You don't think A.J. Brown's going to build
Bro,
up enough
Jordan
speed?
Davis ran like a 4.540 or something crazy.
I mean, there's
ran
no
like a 4.8,
the extra
I think.
extra
okay,
weight.
at 330 some pounds.
I don't know. A.J.'s more aerodynamic.
I tell you, I think Landon Dickerson would go further than AJ.
I think the big body guy. Look, these guys are athletic. These guys are faster than you and I, Connor.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, obviously.
They're gonna be the ones that go farthest.
Did Mailata ever surf? He may figure out like the way to like.
May have?
Yeah, he may have a
question.
good body control. Okay,
question.
well, interesting.
And like you, he wasn't D1.
That's true.
So Mailata could, definitely do
I don't
that.
know. He was D1 anything. Guy just
No, he
came
wasn't.
right? You're right.
out of nowhere. Love it. All right. Something else from the Eagles as well. So this comes from a podcast overseas. This is the British and Irish Eagles podcast. And Eagles running back coach Jamal Singleton was on there. And he was talking about some trouble he's had with players over the offseason. Not in the running back room, with players trying to get into the running back room.
There's usually 3 individuals on our team that continually are in my ear. They'll even show me their steps. Look what I could do. Look, those 3 guys are Jordan Mailata.
Okay.
Jalen Carter feels that would be a really good fullback in short yardage. And Jordan Davis.
You guys nailed 2 of the 3 guys that are yelling at Jamal Singleton to give him carries at running back. So pretty good picks by you when it comes to the slip and slide.
I have seen both Davis and Jalen Carter in mock scrimmage type situations carry the football. They could do it. They could absolutely do it.
Yeah.
There's no question. But I wonder because that was between like Georgia offensive line, messing against their second team.
Yeah,
and stuff.
maybe.
But there was absolutely a lot of that. Kirby Smart always had that in the back of his head.
Hey, you never know.
By the way, the British and Irish Eagles, the podcast that you just mentioned, awesome.
Is it really?
Yeah.
They came with Vince, Philly Sports Strips. I forget what game it was, but they came to the tailgate. Remember, I did pregame from Live Casino, which was where Vince's tailgate was at. And the British and Irish Eagles, there was like 50 of them that came.
Great guys, too.
Just to watch a game with the link. Awesome people.
I'll have to check that out.
Awesome people.
I'll check it out.
All right, last year we'll listen to something you guys talked about earlier, and then we'll talk to Jeff McLane.
This is something pretty big when a lot of national media sites, Fox Sports, ESPN, they have the Eagles roster second overall before the season starts. And our question is the Eagles defense better than we think? Is it that they might just be better than last year and our people are saying that maybe? Or is the national media missing something?
Here's what I think some of this is, too. The roster evaluation list, the way you kind of got to look at it, I look at it as like a Madden type of ranking, like a way that you would I don't know. You may look at a team in a video game and say, this player's good, and this player's good, and this player's good, so it fits and it works. We may be evaluating too much the overall team when they may be evaluating, when they put the Eagles as the second best roster in the NFL, just the talent level of the individual players and how it stacks up.
Could be, but the overall talent value defensively is much less than other teams. And look,
it is. I can't believe it.
I'm happy that people see the Eagles this way. Let's get that clear. We're not sitting here going, "Oh, those idiots." No, we're thrilled. But I'm just missing something, I guess.
I'm going to tell you right now. If we and let's start with this, or at some point make sure we get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, Jeff McLane would not rank that roster second. Guaranteed. And I guarantee you, when we talk to Adam Schefter, he wouldn't put them second. Like I think that. I don't know how they got to second and how two organizations got to second with that roster.
Right. All right. Well, let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. He's come out of hibernation. He's ready for the start of camp.
Is he tanned? Is he tanned, rested, and ready?
He's like a bear and he goes into a cave. I don't know.
Because Jeff's skin is very good, so I hope he wears really good sunscreen if he does.
Not only do the Eagles report to camp today, but so does Jeff McLane from the Inquirer.com. Jeffrey, good morning.
Hey guys, how are you?
How was hibernation? How was your time off?
It was very good. I enjoyed myself, but as they say, back to work.
Yep, back to work, and it starts today with the team reporting to camp. Obviously, first day of practice is tomorrow. Jeff, I'll ask you, what are some of the storylines that you'll be paying attention to closest when you first get there? Whether it's on the field or it's relationships, what's some of the stuff that you'll be paying attention to most at the beginning?
Typically probably the position battles. There's still a few, I think, positions that are up in the air. Cornerback certainly, right guard, that third wide receiver spot. The other personnel packages on defensive side, and then a little more about what the defense and the offense are going to look like, right? We have two new coordinators, two new play callers on both sides of the ball, and I think there's still a lot to have to learn in regards to that.
Jeff, when you look at, and I'm sure you've done a ton of study on what Vic Fangio has done in the past, and you sort of can then speculate on what he'll do here, is he a guy who believes in almost throwing the young guys to the wolves, or does he like to bring along players a little more slowly?
I think I don't think he really has a philosophy in that regards. I think he just wants to play the best guys. Now, look, the front office may have a different idea on that, but I think that they hired Vic Fangio to be the head coach of the defense, and they'll allow him to make a lot of the personnel decisions in that regard. The defense is young. There are a lot of guys that they've brought on that side of the ball the last 3 years through the draft. And those guys, they're going to have to start to deliver. Again, Jalen Carter is kind of taking some of Fletcher Cox's snaps. Jordan Davis is going to have to prove that he can play all three downs. And then you have Nolan Smith, who really didn't play much as a rookie. I think that is very much a fair question. And then, of course, I just talked about cornerback. You got, Quinyon Mitchell. You got Cooper DeJean. How much are those guys going to play as rookies? And then you have a handful of other guys that are kind of in the mix of those positions. So, yeah. What do you have otherwise? Do you really have established veterans that you're questioning whether they can play there or not? I think I guess cornerback. You wonder where James Bradbury fits in. We've talked about this a lot. And they're trying to move him to safety. I think Vic will just play the best guys. I don't think he'll go too over the top in terms of forcing some of these young guys into the roles if they're not ready.
If they're looking at moving Bradbury to safety, could that mean that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson starts the season at the nickel corner position, and Cooper DeJean obviously eventually gets his way on the field?
What they would do with CJ is, he'll play safety, but he could slide down into a slot, right? In that package. But he'll be out there for every down. Yeah, it'll just be how they deploy him based upon personnel, right? But I wouldn't be surprised to see Cooper out there on defense playing, from time to time. I thought he impressed me actually in the spring, and I think that they're not going to hold back on using him and Mitchell. In fact, I still think that Mitchell's going to end up being a starter on that other side.
We were on, of course, List Watch, as most of sports radio does in the summer, reacting to lists. One of them was Jalen Hurts coming in like 13th ranked as far as quarterbacks in the NFL. And then two different outlets ranking the Eagles roster second overall talented in the NFL. Two different outlets. What's more outlandish to you? Hurts being 13 or the Eagles roster being ranked second as far as most talent?
Oh, I guess I'd have to see who was ranking them, and I guess their methodology.
It's ESPN and NFL.com.
ESPN had like a combination of people
voting,
analytics department, reporters.
Yeah,
and then Fox it was Bucky Brooks, who works for Fox and NFL Network.
Yeah,
just in your thought though, if you saw, if someone said to you the Eagles have the second most talented roster in the NFL, what would your answer be?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it really even matters the ranking, but I don't even know if it matters in terms of like what happens out on the field over the course of the year. Look, they have a talented roster. I think that's kind of been the way it's been for him a lot of times when with Howie Roseman.
Right.
And what he's done here, but he's had some not so great rosters as well. I think sometimes when I hear that, I'm just like, oh, well, that's kind of like you're just setting up Nick Sirianni for a little more for failure, I guess, right? It's like, oh, the roster's great. He didn't do, he didn't play up to the standard of that roster, and it's a completely subjective, arbitrary type of ranking, in my opinion. So it's tough, really. To comment much on that. In terms of like the Hurts thing, again, those are kind of like arbitrary. Sure, why not 13th? He almost won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. He was almost the MVP. I think those were all, that was a warranted in terms of like when he was up for the MVP. I think that I don't think many people will dispute that he was one of the best players in the NFL 2 years ago, and then obviously didn't play as well last year. How much of that was on him? How much of that was on the offense? I think we'll get a better answer to that question this year. He's still a young quarterback. Is like to me, it's like there's like maybe five of the guys that you say, okay, this guy can kind of like no matter what you put around him, he can still kind of get the team into the playoffs and possibly compete for a Super Bowl. I think, is he in that category? No, I don't think he is. Could he be there? Yeah, sure. Again, he's still a young guy. But yeah, last year I think kind of like, okay, let's slow this thing down here in terms of like putting Jalen Hurts up there with the Patrick Mahomes of the NFL.
Speaking of Jalen Hurts as well as Nick Sirianni, let me first say you deserve the credit because you were the first person that I heard talk about a potential discourse between the head coach and the quarterback, and it's kind of continued to be brought up as the offseason has gone on, and the most recent was Diana Rossini on a podcast last Friday, that it's still a work in progress between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. First, I want to ask you, Jeff, are we getting to a better place between the two of them? And then my follow-up, does it necessarily matter now that Nick Sirianni's kind of taken a step back and Kellen Moore will be running this offense?
Yeah, I guess I have to clarify that a little bit. I don't think I've reported that there's an issue between the two.
No, you said the relationship needed to be nurtured.
I think, yeah, but I also just want like some of it's just like, the perception and based on certain things that, certainly the way that Jalen, I thought, handled that one question, but, that's just one thing. And that, like, again, reported that, the front office, there's some people in the building that were a little disappointed about the way Jalen answered that question, right? Now, I also reported that Jalen Hurts has really made some inroads in terms of how he's dealt with his teammates in the locker room, and he's kind of really outstretched his hand. He's done more stuff off the field with them. He's really kind of improved in that regard. At least he's made the effort more. I don't think a lot of people didn't talk much about that, and that was definitely certain part of the report that I had before the end of the offseason. So I just wanted to kind of stress that it wasn't just that. And I think that could be one-sided. Really, quite frankly, I don't think Nick necessarily has a problem with Jalen. Now we knew at the end of last year that there was kind of there was a report in the ESPN report that Jalen was not happy with the offense. That's Nick's offense. They've since made a change in the offense, although I think the degree to which the change has been made is not 98% as Jalen had suggested back in June. So those are the things that make you wonder what's going on here. But ultimately, it's what Jalen does on Sundays, right? It's that stuff. It doesn't really matter as much if they're winning, if they're playing winning football. I don't think it's that great of an issue. You're never going to have everybody getting along 100% of the time, right? But if they're not winning and he's not performing and there's just, then all of a sudden that comes more into focus. And when you are in those moments of duress, sometimes you can kind of lean on the relationships to get you through those tough times. And then if you don't have it, if it's not the best, then it can become an issue.
Jeff, you're the man. It's great to hear your voice. It's great to have you back. It's great to have Eagles football back. And I can't wait to be bugging you down the road more and more every single week as another season of Eagles football is upon us.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
There he is, Jeff McLane on the Comcast Business Hotline from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com. So coming up next, we'll react to some of the stuff that Jeff McLane had to say. He doesn't think it's that big of a deal until you start losing. And then it becomes a big deal. Nick Sirianni, it doesn't matter if the roster's really good until you start losing. Then it becomes a big deal. Hopefully that stuff doesn't happen, but hopefully there are issues elsewhere. Something that we should keep an eye on with the Week 1 opponent of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles. Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, guys, got to let you know about something coming up in 29 minutes.
That's very exact.
29 minutes. Online ticket raid for FanFest tickets. So coming up at 9 o'clock, make sure you're on 975thefanatic.com. I would go on at like 8:59 and then just hit refresh so that you're already on the website.
Good work.
Go to 975thefanatic.com, 9 a.m. online ticket raid. FanFest coming our way Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live, presented by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. The website also has all the information that we have so far about the great event. I can't wait for it. Have so much fun every single year. This will be year 11. I haven't missed a FanFest, and I can't wait to party at another one.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be an absolute blast.
I actually selfishly prefer the September date.
Of course, man. It's a little cooler. A little cooler. So that's coming your way at 9 o'clock, the ticket raid. So make sure you are at your computer or your phone so you can get yourself a pair of tickets for FanFest, which is coming Saturday, September 28th. All right. So a couple of things from the Jeff McLane discussion. Then I want to get into this thing about the Green Bay Packers because they have something that's going on, and obviously we're going to be paying close attention to it because that's who the Eagles play in Week 1. Jeff once again brought up the Bradbury potential move to safety.
And I sort of feel like Jeff is getting close to being that he thinks he's going to be a contributor in a really positive way.
Because if you remember, I think Jeff was very open about thinking that Bradbury wouldn't be a corner anymore or on the team.
Yes. It was going to be one or the other.
So he might still be on the team, but he might not be a corner anymore. And he might be being moved to safety. And so that could open the door for Quinyon Mitchell.
And Keely Ringo to get more playing time and everything like that.
And that goes toward the youth movement. And it's not like Bradbury would be on the field every single play.
No.
You could still have him on the field. You're obviously paying him a decent chunk of change instead of just getting rid of him and having the dead cap hit. You know, maybe it's not the worst thing.
I think it puts a smile. Honestly, this puts a smile on my face. Because I did not want to see James Bradbury just cut for the sake of cutting him.
Right.
And I truly believe his success in the NFL has been an EKG.
It has been.
He's been up and down. I think Vic Fangio, an adult in the room, can get more out of him.
Right.
Jonathan Gannon got a lot out of him. I think the same thing's going to happen this year. It may be in a different role, but in the same way. I'm expecting James Bradbury that we will say a few times in the season, glad we didn't get rid of him.
Right. Absolutely. Now, I do like, and maybe Connor's been right all along. Pains me to say
Wait, that's twice in a show.
That pains me to say it.
I hope we're not podcasting.
You guys are coming around.
Jeff's trying to say not to necessarily worry about the Sirianni Hurts thing because not everybody has to like each other on a football field.
Yeah.
I just quarterback coach, head coach, to me is a different thing. Like, it's not like NBA where James Harden didn't like Doc Rivers, but Harden could drop 40 in a playoff game. Like,
right.
And
it's a different relationship.
And I hear people talking about, Joe Montana and Bill Walsh really were butting heads and everything. They weren't butting heads when they were winning Super Bowls on their run.
Right.
At the end of Joe Montana's career, when they brought Steve Young on, that's when they started butting heads. It's like they had a great relationship and a great collaborative relationship.
But it also shows that winning helps. And I didn't hear any issues between Hurts and Sirianni 2 years ago when they were in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't know. I didn't hear it. No. The only thing that we could turn to is the moment in the Super Bowl when Sirianni was barking at the Chiefs sideline and Hurts grabbed his arm and pulled it down. Other than that, we didn't hear anything about discourse between the two of them.
We did not. And I don't need to have to me, it's people trying to make it like it's no big deal if they don't get along. It is a big deal if they don't get along.
I think it's a big deal.
Now,
because it's coach and quarterback.
And it doesn't mean, again, that they have to be best of friends.
Holding hands, walking out of NovaCare together.
They absolutely have to be on the same page, which they were not.
Correct.
And they have to get along and be professional with each other, which one of them was, one of them was not.
And Jeff, by the way, said it's one-sided.
Correct.
Did you catch that?
Which I've been saying all along.
You have been.
It's Jalen Hurts with Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni constantly takes critique and takes the blame for stuff that's on Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts never delivers him the same grace.
Sure, all of this is fair, guys. But you bring up like Joe Montana and Steve Young and that team. Like I think about the Niners team right now. Do you know why Brandon Ayuk's situation with the Niners is such a big deal?
Money.
Well, no,
that's what it is.
Because it's all they have to worry about. They don't have any other issues.
I got you.
They don't have any other problem. Does this Eagles team have a lot more issues we should be worrying about than whether or not the quarterback and coach like each other? By the way, the quarterback and coach who's no longer calling the offense or having much say in it. Like, we just went through question marks at basically every defensive position. You're learning a brand new offense with a coach who is not the guy we're worried about whether or not the quarterback likes him. Like, it's just so low on the list of things that this Eagles team needs to fix.
I can't say so.
It should be.
I can't.
I can't either.
Well, you guys will get there.
Coach and franchise quarterback.
You can't.
And head coach. I can't say it's so low on the list.
Watch me say it.
Should it not
ridiculous.
be number one? Fine. But to make it seem like it's like 9th
it's
out
no
of
big deal.
10, like,
no.
I can't go that low.
Okay. Me and Jeff McLane will be on an island together.
Well, another thing is, too, is the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady thing. You know when Bill Belichick and Tom Brady had started to have problems? Jimmy Garoppolo. That's when their relationship fell apart. That's when their relationship started to show problems. Much like Steve Young showing up in San Francisco. Much like Aaron Rodgers with Mike McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers used to sing the praises of Mike McCarthy. And then when they drafted Jordan Love, it became, now I got a problem with the guy.
So you're saying Kenny Pickett's the problem?
No, there's but there's a common denominator too. Whenever anybody compares Hurts and Sirianni, like, it's no big deal if they don't get along very well. Look at these other quarterbacks. Those quarterback situations broke down because the starting quarterback didn't like that they brought in another quarterback. That's not going on here. This is a personality conflict, and it's got to correct itself. And hopefully it will. And by the way,
I'll also say this: didn't the Patriots win like 2 more championships after the Garoppolo?
and they were not they were not. Remember, that was the whole when he threw TB12 out of the building.
But they were still
and all that stuff.
Two goats.
No, exactly.
So,
but the 2 goats were more like 2 rams.
Right. Again, all of these teams that we're talking about were like Super Bowl winning in the past teams. That was something they had the luxury to focus on. We do not, in my opinion, have the luxury to focus on Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, whether or not they like each other, because there's just so many on-the-field things that need to be proven by this team.
Okay.
I don't think that's unfair, but if you don't have it, if they don't work this childish little thing, as Jeff McLane, the one-sided childishness of this doesn't get worked out, it's going to be a problem.
Now, I will say, and Jeff mentioned it, and I talked about this off the air. I think it was with Brendan Gunn. I forget. But we haven't really talked about it on the air much. And to Jeff's point, we should, because, look, we're always looking at the bad storylines. It's been awesome seeing Jalen Hurts working out with Saquon, with some of the younger players, Johnny Wilson, the 6'6" freshman, the rookie that they drafted that Andrew Pacheco's all excited for.
Yes.
It's been really cool seeing Jalen Hurts working out with a lot of his teammates that have been on the team or that are new on the team. Near his hometown, was it? I forget. I saw the photos of it. Like, it's pretty cool that they're doing that. And Jalen Hurts should get a lot of credit for that. And by all reports, he didn't do that last year, maybe because he didn't have the time, because of all the new endorsements and all that kind of stuff. Whether you want to allow him to have that freedom or not, he did have it. And last year, he did a lot of that kind of stuff. And maybe he didn't have as much time last year. He has more time this year, and I appreciate that he's doing it.
News out of the NFL, too.
What we got?
Hassan Reddick is holding out of training camp.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Wow.
Becoming a major distraction. Jordan Schultz just had it a minute ago. He promised he wouldn't be a distraction, promised contract wouldn't be an issue. His word meant nothing. Again, Howie Roseman knew.
By the way, Jordan Schultz, the first one to report stuff about Reddick when he was still with the Eagles. So I think maybe Jordan Schultz has a connection with Hassan Reddick would be my guess.
Oh, he does. He does.
Unreal, man.
He is holding out. He's going to be a big-time problem.
Good for you, Howie.
Yes.
And
have you had Jordan on before?
Yes.
Great dude.
Awesome dude.
Great dude.
Awesome.
And if you think of it this way, if your dad founded Starbucks.
Is dad?
His dad's a billion.
I didn't know
his
that.
dad's like a 5-time billionaire.
Oh, okay.
Your dad, and what do? He hustles his backside.
He grinds. Yeah.
And he's a great guy. I admire. He's another guy I admire. Doesn't want to sit on a beach. Hey, Dad, can I have some money? No, he's a worker.
I would sit on the beach. All right, coming up next, Jordan Love. Speaking of holdouts, we got to talk about this coming up next. We'll also get to your text messages. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a bird's
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Reminder, coming up at 9 on 97.5thefanatic.com, our second online ticket raid for FanFest. So make sure you're on the website. I would get on a little bit before 9 o'clock. Make sure you hit refresh. Those tickets go out the window fast, like 10, 15 minutes it takes for these tickets to go out the window. So make sure you're ready to go come 9 o'clock for your chance to win a pair of FanFest tickets, which is coming our way Saturday, September 28th. Also, want to let you guys know that at 10 o'clock, special midday show, I believe Amy a part of it, right? Bob Cooney, Amy Fadul, Ray Dunn will be at the Sixers practice facility in Camden, as Tyrese Maxey will be speaking to the media after he signed his max contract. Paul George will have his introductory press conference today, and both at some point will be on. Do you have the times? I think you may have said them.
I don't. I
11
just have
and
the
1
list.
are the press conference.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, 11 for Tyrese Maxey, 1 p.m. for Paul George. Also, potentially Nick Nurse joining the midday show, too. So it should be a busy show.
Make sure you're listening to the midday show today, because that's awesome. Max contract, Tyrese Maxey, new addition / max contract, Paul George, and the head coach that will oversee it all, Nick Nurse, could all be on the midday show today. So make sure you're listening all show today from 10 to 2, as you always should be, with Bob Cooney, today with Amy Fadul, and, of course, the great Ray Dunn, who posted a photo of him going over the Ben Franklin Bridge Jersey side.
By the way, I love the fact that Ray walked the bridge.
Are you sure he walked?
Yeah, he walked the bridge.
I replied, and he said, why do I need to train if I can walk? It looks like he's hanging over it.
What are you talking about?
All right, go to Ray's Twitter account.
No, you can see the train tracks are empty.
Wait, what do you mean? He walked from his place to
You don't
the
walk
Sixers
on the
practice
train
facility?
tracks.
No, you walk on the bridge that overlooks the train tracks.
Yeah, but look at the angle of the photo. Unless he's literally leaning over as much as he can to take the picture.
No, I don't think it's that.
Or he used a Google image.
I don't think so. I think he walked.
I asked him, are you sitting on top of the train? Because it's a very clear picture. Did you look at the photo?
Yeah, I did look at the photo.
Yeah, there's no way that's a picture he took.
Right?
Unless he's on top of the train.
That's what I said. I said, are you sitting on top of the train? And his response was, why a train?
I thought on the path he could take that picture.
No, the path is to the right. He would have that. It looks like he's
this
on
is a good,
the train
5
tracks.
to 10 feet off the path.
Yeah, dude, he's not on the path.
Okay,
Unless he's got like the GoPro with the stick and he
That's what I was
stuck it
about to
out
say.
there.
The selfie stick, and he stuck the
Ray
arm
Dunn's
out
walking
there.
over there with a selfie stick.
Okay, there could be some deep fakes going on this week.
I got
on social
This
media.
is fishy.
This might be one of them.
I got to figure out if that's actually Ray Dunn's photo or not, because it looks like it was either selfie stick, a photo from the train, or a drone. Like that's far off. Ray's lanky. His arms aren't that long.
Okay.
All right. Anyway,
We shall look good.
all right. I've mentioned this a couple of times, and then we'll get to some text messages. Jordan Love, speaking of Hassan Reddick holding out from Jets camp, Jordan Love, your week 1 quarterback opponent for the Green Bay Packers, holding out for the Green Bay Packers. Now, Adam Schefter,
he's holding in.
Holding it, yeah, because he's there.
He is in, so he cannot be fined.
But he's not
He's not
doing
practicing.
anything. Yeah.
No, he is. He's doing all the classroom stuff.
Right.
He's working out. He's not on the field.
He's not going to put
He
himself
will
in
not
harm's
put
way
himself in any kind of harm's way.
because of the contract. Something to keep an eye on. I doubt this lingers too long. Even Adam Schefter reported it, yesterday, that he thinks it'll be done maybe by the end
weekend.
of this week. Okay.
Yes, by the weekend it could be done.
So that's going to get done.
But
Still to pay attention to.
this is nice. I hope it doesn't get done by the weekend. I hope it continues to be. But as they pointed out last night, he's starting to show some diva tendencies already. Jordan Love. He's played 18 games. He started 18 freaking games.
Yeah, but what's his contract?
It's 1 year left.
Well, then you know what it is. One year
I
left
get it.
means
no, but
it's time to negotiate.
No, but other things about him. They say that Rodgers observed Favre, Love observed Rodgers. And they saw things that they could get away with being the starting quarterback of the Packers. And
Right.
he's already doing it. 18 games into his tenure as the starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
He's absolutely done almost nothing.
Right.
And it's just, I hope they have a little bit of turmoil here. Rooting for
That'd
turmoil.
be great. I would love turmoil week 1 for the Packers so that the Eagles start the season 1-0. That would be absolutely tremendous. But also the news that you mentioned, Hassan Reddick holding out, from Jets camp, not even showing up. And this goes back to the trade.
And he lied. He said on his opening press conference, the contract will work itself out. I'm just here to play. I'm not going to be a distraction. He lied, flat out lied. Howie knew once again. He did.
It's amazing.
He did.
A lot of people, maybe myself included, need to owe Howie an apology.
Yep, all the screaming memes.
Unbelievable, man. All right, coming up next, we reset the show. We get to your text messages on today's discussion about the Eagles' defense. Also, NBC Sports Philadelphia, we brought it up when it first came out. They did their top 25 most important Eagles list. We guessed the top 10. It's finally all come out. We'll see how close we were, and we see if we agree with it. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. It's also ticket raid time. Make sure you go to 975thefanatic.com right now for the online ticket raid for FanFest. Of course, that comes our way Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live, presented by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. But the ticket raid happening right now. Go to 975thefanatic.com to score your tickets for the biggest part of the year for Philadelphia sports fans. And then while you're there, make sure you check out all the information about the incredible events that will be coming our way on the 11th FanFest with 97.5 The Fanatic.
Can't wait for it. Lots of exciting announcements coming soon and more.
Absolutely,
on special guests and everything.
Love it.
And I'm told Matvey Mishkov will be setting foot on American soil very soon.
So John Clark's at the Philadelphia International Airport.
How about this? If John Clark's there, he gets AAA grades because he's going to land in New York.
He's probably there.
So I'm not putting anything by John Clark. He probably found a good golf course in the area.
Probably.
Where he could set a tee time and then get the video of Mishkov and then go do that.
I wouldn't be surprised. John Clark's there, man. Johnny
He is the
Airports.
man.
All right, so coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll go through this NBC Sports Philadelphia list of the top 25 most important Eagles. Remember, we got to 10, and then we guessed the rest of the way. We'll see the order that they put them in. But here's what we've talked about today. So the Eagles roster, we're excited for on paper, right? We're already talking about 12 wins, division winner, maybe competing in the NFC Championship game. I think we've said maybe NFC Championship game or bust. We haven't gotten to the SB or B conversation.
How about this? It will be a discussion.
Yes.
It will be a discussion.
And not victory, appearance.
And I don't think that asking this team to be a Final Four team is too much of a leap either.
I don't think so either. Right. But we found it pretty interesting that ESPN and Fox has the Eagles roster ranked second overall in all football. NFL.com has them at 5. The reason why 5 makes a little bit more sense, not because we think this team stinks. 5 is still really good. The defense is suspect. And I don't think there's a single Eagles fan that should think differently. There's a lot of question marks defensively. Like Devin White, we're hoping has a resurgence. It's been 3-4 straight years where it's been a decline, and now all of a sudden we want him to have a resurgence. We need Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to stay healthy. 19 games missed over the last 2 seasons. 23 games missed over the last 3 seasons for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We need Darius Slay to still play at a high level despite being another year older. We need Quinyon Mitchell to maybe step right in, or Keely Ringo to take a step forward as the other cornerback position. We need Bryce Huff to play kind of like Hassan Reddick because he's getting paid for it. We need Josh Sweat to not disappear for 7 weeks like he does every single year. We need Jalen Carter to take a step forward.
Yes.
We need Jordan Davis to not only stay in physical, good NFL condition for the second half of the season, we need him to replace what Fletcher Cox did last year, which was actually a lot. There's a lot of question marks with this defense.
There are a lot of question marks. And again, it's not. I have someone here going, Jack going, I was more excited for the Eagles season before you guys started this conversation this morning. I'm not ripping your content. Just saying you've brought up a lot of things that maybe I've glossed over. And again, he says, I'm in the 12-win club. Well, we're all sort of in the 12-win club.
So are we.
But we just be. We're all. How about this? I'm a believer that some of these question marks are going to end up being really strong performances, and a few of them will probably fall by the wayside.
Probably.
That's it. Like I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's outlandish, right?
No, not at all. It's not all going to go wrong. Like, do you know what needs to happen for everything to go wrong? You need to have like 2 coordinators that are new that have no idea what they're doing. And then the Super Bowl hangover, and then a team that gives the blueprint of how to beat you. It's not going to happen the way it happened last year.
Here, little exercise. Who was that? Who tweeted that to you or emailed that to you, John?
I am that is from. Let me see.
Who's I'm sorry, put you on the spot. Jack?
No, it is Jack.
All right, I want to speak directly to Jack. So we have them at 12 wins, despite thinking, maybe the defense isn't good enough to call them the second best roster in the NFL.
Jack's a physicist.
There you go.
Ask him about the slip and slide
second
question.
time of the day.
Yeah.
Second time of the day.
Here were your double-digit win teams last year. And let's figure out if we think the Eagles are better than the teams from that previous year. Are the 2024 Eagles better than the 2023 Bills? I would like to say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they now gotten worse without Stephon Diggs. I believe the 2024 Eagles, and it's more so a Jalen versus Tua thing. I like the 2024 Eagles better than the 2023 Dolphins.
I do too.
And the Dolphins had 11 wins last year.
Yep. Agree.
And by the way, Tua's going into a no contract situation.
Chiefs are the Chiefs. I'm not even going to bring that up. Ravens were a very good football team last year. They're in the AFC Championship game. I like the 2024 Eagles better than the 2023 Browns and Steelers, who both finished with double-digit wins last year. So there's more teams, but we don't have to go through the entire league. But what I'm trying to say is, just because we might have concerns and questions that Jack may have glossed over doesn't mean we think they stink. 12 wins is very doable in the NFL when you have the talent that the Eagles have. It could end up being better. They could win 14 games. I don't know. The defense might play better than we think.
They very well might.
It can't
and
be,
I mean,
it can't be worse.
Some of these are going to work out. Some of them aren't.
Right.
Some of them are going to work out. Some of them are going to be positive. Some of them aren't. But I believe that more will work out in our favor because I think Vic Fangio's a hell of a teacher. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And the Delaware River Port Authority has answered us.
I saw. I disagree with their response.
What are you talking about?
Well, I disagree with them.
They're right. It's the it's the walkway.
Oh, no.
As
Did you see the second? Did you see the second response? So in case you're just wondering,
get out of the studio every once in a while and enjoy the views from the walkway.
Well, like, I'm out of the studio. I'm out of the studio a lot. I'm just not walking on.
No,
the
but
bridge.
I said I thought it was the bridge walkway. I was like, I was saying that it absolutely looks like a shot you would take as you were walking across the bridge.
Well, here's where the confusion struck. Ray Dunn texted me.
There's a jut out. There's a jut out
specifically for
picture taking and stuff like that.
I did not know that
I think there's two of them.
I did not know that
if I'm not mistaken.
I don't really walk across the Ben Franklin Bridge all that often.
I think it's awesome, and I think that we appreciate that the Delaware River Port Authority listens.
Yeah, I appreciate it big time.
And that they educate people on this, and maybe, just maybe, we could do a show from the middle of the bridge.
Can I just ask that they could be less snarky the next time we're incorrect?
I like this.
Unbelievable.
No, they were right to be a snark there because you guys.
And also, no tag for me, Delaware River Port Authority.
Real quick, let's keep it at $5.
Huh?
No, it's $6.
Yeah.
Well, they can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
is that them?
They're going up.
No, it's not.
I don't think they're in charge of that, though.
They don't get in charge of that.
Hey, they got more say than I do. I'm just a dude on the radio.
Well,
they're the Delaware Port Authority. Like, come on, man.
Park over there and then walk. Then you don't have to worry about it.
And then I could take a picture on the jut out.
And just remember, you pay to come into Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and then you would pay when you come see the Camden Sixers.
No, we pay. No, we pay to go. I pay to go home
when you go home
after seeing the Sixers, and we will not be seeing the Camden.
All right, so let's check the text line. I want to see what texts we have on today's discussion. Then we're going to run through this NBC Sports list of the most important Eagles heading into the 2024 season. What do we got, Connor?
We got a lot of people still caught up on this Hurts Sirianni thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Antoine from Philly checks in and says, come on, guys. Can y'all let this Hurts Sirianni storyline go, please? I don't know whether or not I'm watching Kincade Salciunas or an episode of Dr. Phil. As long as they're working towards the ultimate goal, then I could care less how buddy-buddy they are. Let's not act like we ain't come up in a city with Iverson and Larry Brown.
Okay, again, basketball's different. I said that. I don't know when that text came in. It may have been before I said it. It's one thing for James Harden and Doc Rivers to not like each other. James Harden's just on the court balling. He scores 40 points in a playoff game and doesn't like Doc Rivers, right? Like it was pretty clear when they asked what their relationship was, and he didn't really give an answer, much like Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Head coach and franchise quarterback is a much different animal. But let me also say this. It's not that we're like just bringing it up willy-nilly. It was once again reported on just a couple days ago. And this is our first chance to talk to Jeff McLane, who was the first person that said that the relationship needed to be nurtured. So I wanted to see where we were at. It's not like we're making something up.
And more importantly, this is being talked about nationally. Yes. This is not being brought, and it keeps being brought up by people that are talking to. Why was this brought up? Because Jalen Hurts or members of his camp and Brian Johnson and others talked to Diana Rossini.
I got you.
That's it.
Like here, and I'm surprised by this, Johnny, because I'm not trying to like call you out on anything. But when we talk Phillies and we talk vibes, you're notoriously like lower on the vibe scale of how much it matters.
No, I'm the vibe scale of a backup catcher who is not a Major League Baseball player.
But still,
that's his that you keep him on a roster because of vibes. I'm not. No, I believe in vibes. Absolutely believe in vibes.
Okay, well,
I'm not the backup catcher being the clubhouse DJ does not influence vibes. If you had a catcher hitting 250,
Johnny, if you're a vibes guy, everybody influences vibes.
No.
But my point is, like, when you look at this, it's a relationship between a player and a coach that don't necessarily have to interact the way that we expect them to. I think we have this whole preconceived notion of head coach and quarterback have to like each other. You know when that goes out the window? When the organization tells you the head coach isn't running the offense or the defense or really anything to do with the scheme of the team.
Or the fact that he's still the head coach because he said yes, sir, to both coordinators.
So it's just like, I don't care if they like each other or not. I really don't.
Okay, can you? I hear this from people.
Say it doesn't matter, but if they start losing, it will.
And he also said it's one-sided.
Absolutely. If they start losing, it will. So let's focus on, like for me, my worries are, how does this defense become something that's not absolutely terrible? Like, how do you get these young players?
Yeah, but Connor, again, I want to make this clear, and I've said this when the best show ever, before we signed our peace treaty. The reason why I also like to make a big deal of it is not that Jalen Hurts is listening. I would like this to be squashed early. The defense is the defense. The roster is the roster. Unless a player gets cut from a team and you can pick them up, our concerns about the defense, look, that's the way it's going to be. A beef between Hurts and Sirianni, the two of them can sit down over a couple of beers or whatever the hell they drink and talk it out. And that could be done July 23rd when they report to camp today.
That's such a great point because that's the major difference between you and me on this issue. Like, if I have a big task to do and a bunch of smaller tasks, I'm going to take care of the big things first. Not the easy ones. I want to do the hard ones first. And then later, we'll see if the hard ones resolve the other issues.
Yeah, but the big task you might not be able to start until you have equipment.
Okay, well, they have equipment today.
They can't acquire any more players, right? Like, the roster's the roster.
Yeah, there might
be a safety out there that they could still acquire. But
I got you. I just you can win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni not liking each other.
Okay.
You don't know that.
Brian wants to know, Connor, can you tell me the quarterback combination and head coach that do not get along in the NFL that has been public?
I mean, like currently,
yes.
I've got to run through.
No, but he's like, he's saying you won't be able to come up with them.
I don't know that that's fair. Maybe not at this moment right now because we're in the off season.
Yeah, but I mean,
there have been coaching turnover.
The other ones, that have to be public.
It's like, I don't know if Dak and Mike McCarthy like each other, but
but it's messy and public. No, Dak and Mike McCarthy are a mutual love fest the way they speak about each other publicly. They're very Dak Prescott talks about how Mike McCarthy, what he did for his game last year, and he also talks about what Kellen Moore did for his game.
I mean, the most recent one is the Brady Belichick thing.
Yeah,
I know that's
we
a
already
major
know
example,
the condition
but
was Jimmy Garoppolo. It didn't have anything to do with they did not have this combative relationship.
To say that it's just like that one. Listen, there was stuff after Tom Brady left that was still an issue between him and Belichick.
If you watch the documentary, which they both have contributions to, it was the problems began with Garoppolo. Then it began with TB12. With Tom wanting to have his own trainer and stuff. So after they had a ton of success together, then it started becoming the disease of me.
Right.
Where each of them are goats and going at it. That's not applicable here.
Yeah,
that doesn't apply to this.
Let's live in a realistic world. Like putting the burden of proof on me to go through a bunch of 31 other teams, quarterback and head coach. Okay, well, how much would we hear?
Because Diana Rossini is a national reporter.
So why is she reporting on the Eagles?
Because it's an issue.
We're a huge market for a great football team with a high-profile quarterback, a high-profile head coach that went from Super Bowl contender to what in the world happened to him. It's a huge story. Does anyone really care if, like, Geno Smith and Pete Carroll didn't like each other before he called it? Like, is that going to become a huge story?
How many times have I said my franchise quarterback? I don't believe that Geno Smith is a franchise.
I understand.
No, but I mean,
but
is that like Lamar Jackson and his head coach have a love affair?
they do.
They literally
John Harbaugh literally
he
said
talks
he
about
could be the greatest
I
quarterback
mean,
ever.
Tua and Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
It's a love affair publicly.
You're
blah, blah,
absolutely
blah, blah,
right.
blah. It's all that. Andy Reid and Mahomes. Like, we don't see it. Is anybody, Sean McVay and his quarterbacks are like this. When he didn't have the great relationship was when he told Goff, I can do better. Goff with his quarterback. This is an issue because it's not the norm. It's odd that you're asking the quarterback and the head coach to not get along.
But odd doesn't make it a huge, like, that doesn't determine the size of the problem.
It might not be the size of the problem for you. We all look at things differently. And to me, as I said, this could be something that could be taken care of in the next week or two. And then it's all done. And then you won't hear me bring it up again. And that's what we want. It's just the fact that it is still being brought up as late as Friday. The week, but the Friday before camp starts.
How did you not clean it up beforehand? That's dereliction. And more importantly, again, Jeff McLane, one-sided. This is not the work of Nick Sirianni. No matter what you think of him as a head coach, he always has had his players' backs. He always takes the bullet for them. He always takes the blame, even when he's making it up. He takes the blame for them. This is your star quarterback not being willing to offer the same grace to his head coach.
Let me ask you, if you were a player and you thought your head coach, and I'm speaking and if you thought your head coach had no clue what he was doing offensively, would you have his back just for the sake of appearances?
No. What I would do is I would find something to say about the CEO, the guy who is thing. If I'm one of the other executives of a company and I think the other CEO, the other CFO, whatever, is an idiot, I'm going to find something at least passable to say about them publicly. And behind closed doors, I'd be raising holy hell.
Okay. And that's totally fair.
But I would absolutely not be airing dirty laundry in public. I think it's childish. And it is not productive for business at all.
Yeah, here's the thing, too. Like, the question is, has Jalen Hurts really aired dirty laundry in public?
I think that the fact that we're still talking about this, and 3 different times he had a chance to address it and didn't.
Right, but
that's a problem because he passive aggressively.
And look, he could try to. He could maybe squash this with what he says in his first press conference,
and hopefully he will.
I wouldn't say he aired anything, though. He didn't answer. He avoided questions, which we can say, like.
And I can't say that we speculated when it's still being reported as of Friday.
I'm not saying it's speculation, but we also can't treat it like he came out and said, "I don't like this guy." Like, we don't even know.
How easy would it be for him to just say, "I really like Nick"?
Very.
Then he did. By just not saying something,
no.
Connor, he didn't have to answer the football question. He could have, because people deflect when answering questions all the time. He could easily have just said, I really enjoy Nick Sirianni.
But there's a level between I like this guy and I don't like this guy.
Well, what was the level? He didn't answer anything.
I don't know.
On purpose.
Exactly. He's dodging the question. Hopefully, we will get a proper answer from him this week during training camp, and this may totally go out the window.
We will be listening, and we will be reacting, and we are good at it. All right, what else do we have on the text line, Connor?
All right, we're going to go back to that conversation about the defense and everything going on there. Ms. from Northeast Philly says, the truth is there's a lot of unknowns with the Eagles this season. Yeah, there's high expectations because of the new offensive defense coordinators and the big name players, how well the draft went, but there's a lot of questions about how they compare to teams like Kansas City, San Francisco, and the other top teams. When you look at the Eagles roster, they may look like a number 2 team, but when you compare them around the league, not sure where they rank.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they don't come close to those teams.
I don't think so either.
Do I believe defensively the Eagles will be better this year? Absolutely. I don't think twice about it.
If I set the number right now about what you thought was the floor of where you expect them to get, what's that number? Out of 32 teams. Last year, they were 30th.
Floor will be 18 for me.
That's exactly the number I have.
How about that? It's
now
middle.
You see, I'm going to say floor is 16 for me.
Okay.
But we're all in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're all in the same discussion point.
We all think they're going to be better.
I do not think that. I think their ceiling is going to be 11.
Okay. And look,
I'll go 16 to 11, 11 to 16. They're going to fall right in that range right there.
And 18, 16,
it's not
11,
that much difference.
Whatever it is, they don't give up 30-plus points to James Conner and the Cardinals. I don't even say Kyler Murray. I say James Conner.
Yeah,
because that guy ran for like 7,000 yards against them. Like, if they are middle of the pack, they don't give up 30 points to the Giants, to the Cardinals.
I was dying to get back to a game, too. My first game back, like as a media member and everything. That Cardinal game, for God's sakes.
Hideous. All right, coming up next, we'll go through this NBC Sports Philadelphia list. I apologize. I wanted to get to the text message, and that led to great conversation. The top 25 most important Eagles heading into the 2024 season. We'll go through it next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. on 97.5 The Fanatic. 20 minutes is all it took for this ticket raid to sell out. 20 minutes. I told you. Better have been on that quickly. I'm sure we'll have other ticket raid opportunities down the line, but would love to know if you got your FanFest tickets. You can text us. You can tweet us. Just say, hey, I got my pair of FanFest tickets, which is coming our way Saturday, September 28th. Can't wait, man. Absolutely can't wait.
I have a name for you.
What do we got?
Just a pretty well-placed person. Lane Thomas. Any interest?
Sure.
From the Nationals?
Yeah, he's a good ball player.
Hate the last name.
You would love that. Having a Thomas.
He's a good ball player.
Keep your eyes. Last year, by the way, this same source told me the starting pitcher that the Phillies were going after, and they acquired him.
Mr. Lorenzen.
This same person has told me, look at that. Lane Thomas may be the guy.
Not surprised. I remember his name was popped up a while ago.
What do you think of that name?
Look, he's a good ball player. I mean, he's
under control, so you'd have him for another year. And
that's a big thing for Dave Dombrowski.
He's under control for not just this year, but for next year.
He's having a down year. Last year he was.
What, he hit 25
much better.
last year?
Last
something
year,
like that?
28 home runs
28.
last season.
Okay.
To 8 this year. Now, who knows? Maybe they tried changing his swing up a little bit. He's 28 years old. He kind of is who he is.
It is who he is.
Yeah, like it's not like you're getting.
You are not going to have to. This person also says to me, you will not have to dump a top 5 prospect.
Oh, yeah. I don't.
You don't have to dump one of your top 5 prospects.
If you did, you're completely overspending.
So it's just a name to look at. Watch out.
And he bats right-handed, so he would be the platoon with Brandon Marsh.
I don't love it.
You don't love it.
No.
A guy with 28 home run pop though, and you don't have to give up your he has that potential.
Yeah, the other thing, you gotta, I don't know, maybe this isn't the right way to look at it, but when I see 28 home runs with the Washington Nationals, I wonder how many of those mattered. How many of those were pitchers, or how many of those were in a spot in a ball game where pitchers are bearing down on somebody?
Now I'll tell you this: this is what should matter to you. Even though he only has 8 home runs this year, he's batting .329 against left-handed pitching, just .210 against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, that's
so he
and
would
since he'd be in a platoon, it's perfect.
He would be the Brandon Marsh platoon piece,
or the bat coming off the bench.
Yeah,
and so this the assessment from this person in baseball was. Certainly not a below-average outfielder.
No.
So
he can field his position.
So he can field
his position. It's not a splash. It's not a
splash.
This is why they're going to win the World Series, but it's an added piece.
I'll tell you this. If Lane Thomas is your outfielder, Mason Miller better be your reliever.
Yes, because if you're not spending big on the outfield, then you got to spend big somewhere.
So there's just a name to look out for, Lane Thomas.
By the way, career .307 hitter against lefties. .224 against righties. So he's a platoon player.
Yeah,
I'd be fine. Split with Brandon Marsh.
I think I'd be fine with that. So just keep your eye out for that. It's the same source that last year told me that.
Yeah. On one occasion, he's got to take 18 from Rojas, so I can get a Thomas 18 Philly jersey.
We'll talk to him about that.
All right.
Speaking of the Phillies, something cool, and then we'll get back to this NBC Sports Philadelphia list. 20 Brooksgate put together the ranking of attendance percentage-wise based off of capacity.
Okay.
All right, so I know there's a lot of caveats.
Yeah, because that is important.
It's important because
it is important.
It's one thing if we sell 40,000 tickets every single night.
But if someone else doesn't have 40,000 to sell,
right? And if one stadium can seat 80,000,
right? Exactly.
So 2024 home game attendance as a percentage of stadium capacity. Your Philadelphia Phillies coming at number 1, 95.8%.
That's spectacular.
They're averaging 41,112 fans. Their capacity, seat-wise, not standing room, 42,901.
That's crazy.
So almost 96% of their seats are averaged to be sold so far this year. The Padres coming at number 2, 94.7, so a full point less. Atlanta comes in at 3, and then the Yankees coming at 4. Now, the Yankees have a stadium where it seats a decent amount of people, but they're only at 89.5%. The Dodgers, I think they have the most seats among all stadiums. Second to the
47?
Second to the Oakland Coliseum.
What are they? Almost 50?
They're at 56,000 seats.
56,000. Wow.
And they're averaging under 48,000. So they're only selling 85
Which is still a
points.
great-
It's still great.
attendance,
yeah.
right.
But 85.6% of their seats are being sold compared to the Phillies' 95.
What's Atlanta at?
Atlanta's at 93.1%.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're third on that list.
All right.
But Oakland dead last at 14.4. No real surprise there.
Not a shocker. It is the worst stadium you could ever attend.
By the way, Karate Mark, shout out to you. He got his FanFest tickets on the ticket rate. Can't wait to see Karate Mark.
Karate.
All right, so NBC Sports Philadelphia, Dave Zangaro put together his top 25 most important Eagles heading into the 2024 season. We touched on this when he got to number 10. We knew it was Bryce Huff. So 25 to 21, Brandon Graham, Nakobe Dean, Milton Williams, Jake Elliott, Nolan Smith. 20 to 16, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Tyler Steen, Devin White, Quinyon Mitchell. 15 to 11, Jordan Davis, Landon Dickerson, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Dallas Goedert, and Josh Sweat. I think we all were kind of in agreement that we thought Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be higher on this list. You have him as basically the most important defensive player, right?
Yeah, I do.
And he was 13th.
You made a good case.
You did. It was a great,
You made a good case.
Great case.
Thank you.
13th on the list for Dave Zangaro. So your top 10. We start with Bryce Huff, and then we kind of guessed what we thought that they would be.
Yes.
We were pretty spot on.
Okay, good.
Jalen Hurts, as we all
Dave
said.
Zangaro's smart.
He is, because he's, following the show. Jalen Hurts, number 1, no surprise. Lane Johnson, number 2. Now, we had...
That's where I had him.
Lane Johnson or Jalen Carter. Remember, we did like a 2A, 2B
Right.
kind of thing. Jalen Carter actually is 5th.
Wait a minute. Then who's 3 and 4?
Offensive heavy, man. That's what the league is. Hurts 1, Lane Johnson 2, A.J. Brown 3, Jordan Mailata 4. And then Carter comes in at 5.
I disagree, but I get it. I mean, I don't disagree with the 5 names.
Right.
But I definitely disagree with that order.
And then we were spot on 6 through 10. We knew that Huff was 10.
Right.
Devontae Smith 6th, Darius Slay 7th, Saquon 8th, Cam Jurgens 9th.
We had that exactly right.
That's exactly the order that we
had it exactly right, especially Saquon, which was touchy.
Right, because
That's
we were like,
But we did. That's good. That's
they
good
don't
work on our part.
necessarily need Saquon. It's just
What's your
an embarrassment of riches.
What's your biggest grievance?
Out of this, Carter should be higher.
Carter should be 3rd.
If not 2nd.
And then just bump guys down to 4 and 5. That's all I say.
Right. I mean, that's the biggest
That
thing.
is that's great work by Dave Zangaro.
Absolutely. That, we
Very
just
well
disagree
done.
with him with the Jalen Carter thing. But I mean, really, just because Jalen Carter, you need him. You need him to play well. Like,
it's going to be tough.
You need him to play well. You need the 3 names that we gave, even though totally different spots. Carter, John, that was the name you gave, was 5th. Mine was Bryce Huff. He's 10th. 13th for Connor with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. All 3 of those guys need to play well this year.
They certainly do.
Because they have their work cut out for them.
In for it. They're all in for it. It's going to be a lot of pressure because this team has big aspirations.
Yeah, definitely. And coming off of last year, and you lost Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, these guys need to step it up, man. And look, we expect them to take a step forward in their careers, but there's still a lot of other questions. All right, what do we have on the text line about that, Connor? You could text the show at 610-632-0975.
Yeah, the big questions that we're asking for the day, we've got Eric from Alden checking in, and this is still we just can't get away from this Hurts Sirianni discussion.
Okay.
Eric says, I understand that there's a disconnect between quarterback and head coach, but Nick is a coach that made it to the Super Bowl regardless of what happened last year. He's been there. He knows what it takes. He might not call the right offense, but now we have hopefully the right person in place to make those calls. So let Nick be Nick. His face is on the sidelines, and let's go win a Super Bowl this year. Go Birds.
I think we all share we all share that agenda, that excitement. I'm telling you this. I'm very surprised that you guys are the ones who need to be sold more on Sirianni than I do. And I understand it. I'm not criticizing you for it, but I'm a little surprised.
Well, it goes back to what I've said a million times, and I said it again today when we played that Diana Rossini clip. I think he's still here because he said yes.
I don't think
Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. And look, I don't blame Sirianni for saying yes. I wonder were the optics too bad to fire a head coach after making the playoffs 3 straight years that they go, listen, Nick,
Can't do it again.
we can't fire you, but we're going to have Kellen Moore run the show offensively and Vic Fangio is going to run the show defensively. They may have not said that to his face that way, but that's kind of the read I get on this.
It feels like what's happening.
It's like, man, we got a lot of heat for firing Doug Peterson after winning the first Super Bowl in Eagles franchise history. Not from Eagles fans, from national media members. People made a mockery of us. There was questioning about whether or not you could trust the organization. Why should I get a job? Like, why should I accept a job there? Think about it. Brian Daboll was a top candidate who went back to Buffalo rather than coming to Philadelphia.
Yeah. It's a tough place, man.
I don't think he made a smart decision.
Well, based off of what he wants to do. He wants to be the guy that calls the shots.
He ended up winning Coach of the Year.
He did win Coach of the Year.
And Sirianni went to a Super Bowl.
Right.
So if Brian Daboll was so smart and so much better than Nick Sirianni the same year won the division and went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Daboll did not make the right decision.
I don't think he's kicking himself over it. Like, I think he's okay with having a Coach of the Year under his belt in his first season as a head coach.
Yeah, his third now. I mean,
when he won it.
It was
Right.
This will be his third.
So yeah, probably would have liked to have the talent in Philadelphia, but it's not like he's coaching I don't know, what's the worst team in the NFL?
The
this year?
Giants. They're one of the worst.
They are.
They're one of the worst. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they've actually gone backwards.
We're moving on. They're
going backwards.
Really? Joe, we have a bunch of people on the text line, by the way, that are losing their mind because they're saying, not sure where you guys got 20 minutes. I tried at like 9:03 to get FanFest tickets.
Oh, really?
It was out that quick. We had a bunch of people checking and saying they got the FanFest tickets.
There's another one there's going to be more coming.
I only saw the email from Eric.
Right.
Who he emailed us at 9:20 that the tickets were gone. So maybe it was even quicker, and he just didn't see it.
We're hearing gone by 9:03 a.m.
We promise you there will be more opportunities.
Yes,
absolutely promise you.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for it.
And let's put it this way: I think Andrew and Connor and you giving these out and everything, you and I are of the same mindset. We're going to make sure you get there.
Yeah,
we're going to do everything we can to make sure you get there.
And once again, my PSA that I like to throw out there every once in a while, because today was ticket rate day, so I can say this. If you win tickets on the air, it's not going to come in 5 minutes later.
Right. You don't get them today.
Sometimes we try to get to it because there's a lot of people that work hard behind the scenes. They try to get to a certain amount of tickets, and then they send out a mass email. So don't be bugging the people. Hey, I haven't got my tickets yet. But also, don't wait till the day of FanFest and say, hey, I never received my tickets. Because I've gotten that before. I was the producer of the FanFest programming one year. So I was here at the studio until the final hour of FanFest, and I quickly got down there. The amount of phone calls I got, I was like, bro, really? The event started 3 hours ago, and you're asking me where your tickets are now?
Seriously.
That's my PSA. All right, coming up next, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, and maybe, Connor, a crossover? Bob Cooney with Amy Fadul and Ray Dunn from the Sixers practice facility today. As Tyrese Maxey and Paul George will have their press conferences. You'll be able to listen to both of them here on The Fanatic. Both of them scheduled to join the show as well. So make sure you're listening during the midday show today. Hopefully we speak with Bob next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
Kevin Sullivan is on the line with us. Thanks so much for being on.
Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 10 o'clock, and we'll do the crossover. It has been confirmed we will speak to Bob Cooney. Make sure you're listening all day today during the midday show. Bob and Amy and Ray live from the Sixers practice facility. Paul George and Tyrese Maxey having press conferences today. Paul George and Tyrese Maxey scheduled to join the show, so we can't wait to hear those incredible interviews with Bob, Amy, and Ray. And we'll speak with Bob in a few minutes, but it's time now for the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Camp is opening today. They report to camp today. The Philadelphia Eagles, man. They report to camp today. Practice starts tomorrow. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni this week. We'll hear from Vic Fangio this week. Maybe we'll hear from some players. Maybe the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni beef might be squashed this week. I don't know. There's going to finally be legit storylines to get into this week, and I'm so thrilled by it. Even though, let's face it, this summer has not been bad. We've actually had a pretty damn good summer. And
It's been a great summer.
Phillies have been great. The Sixers have provided all kinds of content. The Flyers, Michkov made it to the States.
Has he landed?
Yes.
Wait, I think he's landed yet.
No, you're right. It's a long flight.
There's so many good things going on.
And then the Eagles talking points, there's been a million of them, and we've talked about them all, but I'm glad that we're finally going to have real football to start talking about as they report to training camp today. We're looking at the defense today as the team reports to camp today. Camp starts tomorrow. You'll finally have some legit talking points to get into, but this is something pretty big when a lot of national media sites, Fox Sports, ESPN, I'll check what CBS has to say. I'm sure they did the exact same thing. They have the Eagles roster second overall before the season starts. And our question is, or multiple questions, I guess.
We have a lot of questions.
Is the Eagles defense better than we think? Is it that they might just be better than last year, and our people are saying that maybe? Or is the national media missing something, which I think they might be missing how bad this defense, well, not how bad this defense is, but how hopefully middle of the pack this defense is?
You know how...
Like, we're hoping that they're middle of the pack.
You know how we talk about Daryl Morey having to go shopping like the last few years?
Yeah.
He's had to wait and go shopping to get the roster that he wants.
Done.
Is Howie going to have to do that again with this defense? Like, I fully expect before we hit opening day, Howie will be roster poaching somebody else's
I imagine so,
cut
yeah.
and adding to this team, saying, well, that's more reliable, or it's a nice depth piece.
Right.
To me, I don't like that strategy. I hate that strategy.
Because Patrick Queen isn't getting released. Phils lose last night, 7-2. Panic has ensued on social media. Like,
Stop it.
It's the guys.
I've had numerous people, and I finally had to respond. Well, the Phillies, they're below 500 since London. No, they aren't. They were 2 games over going into last night. Well, now if they're 500, it doesn't matter. But when you build up the lead, you do. You're not going to play at a 700 baseball clip over 162.
Yep.
For God's sakes.
And this goes back.
Chill out.
I think it all starts with Bryce Huff. And it might be unfair to put so much on a guy who's never been a full-time player, but he got paid to be one. It's like the Jalen Hurts thing. He got paid to be a franchise quarterback, which is why I put so much on the plate of Jalen Hurts, and I don't do the whole, he's young, let's see how it looks, we got a new offensive coordinator. No, that dude is getting paid to be the franchise quarterback. Bryce Huff is getting paid to be a top edge rusher in this league, first of all, and needs to be for the Philadelphia Eagles. Not only do the Eagles report to camp today, but so does Jeff McLane from the Inquirer.com. Jeffrey, good morning.
The defense is young. There are a lot of guys that they've brought on that side of the ball the last 3 years through the draft. And those guys, they're going to have to start to deliver.
If Jalen Carter is not just absolutely terrorizing offensive lines and making opposing quarterbacks think, where the hell's he coming from and when's he coming? I think this Eagles defense could be in trouble. And it might be unfair to say a second-year player, but as far as this year's success, I think his success would have a trickle-down effect more than Huff's. So that's why I put more on Jalen Carter.
The Eagles' offense is better than a lot of these teams. The Eagles' defense is far behind a lot of these teams. Like, it's not like the Eagles are right there defensively with some of these squads.
Now, somebody's going to say, oh, God, I can't believe you guys are being negative on the day camp opens. It's negative on the list.
Yeah.
Let it be clear. We're all in the 12-win club.
Right.
But we think that it's a little rich to say the Eagles roster's second in the NFL.
All right, that's the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. And I was just told by Connor Thomas that Bob Cooney's hot.
What? I mean, he's a good-looking man.
Yeah,
his mic's hot.
Connor's like, man, Bob's hot. And I was like, all right, let's go to him. Hi, Bobby. How's the practice facility?
Everything is good. I got.
I'm not sure if everything is good.
I got nothing. Here we go.
Now we got you.
Hello.
All right. Maybe. Yeah, everything's great here. I'm hot. You're hot. We're all hot. We're ready to go. Ready to rumble today from the 76ers. Penn Medicine practice facility here in Camden.
So, are you expecting to hear anything like that's going to be eye-opening or ear-opening, I should say?
It depends on how we ask the questions, John, right? That's what an interviewer is all about. But also to add on here, not only are we scheduled to get Tyrese Maxey and Paul George and Nick Nurse.
Nice.
Also, Daryl Morey.
Oh, that's going to be great.
It's
Yeah,
great.
so stay tuned. Yeah, we hope to get everybody to fit in here. As you know, it's a fluid thing here because you got press conferences, a lot of stuff going on. But the great PR people here at the Sixers, they gave me a call last night. Little heads up on that. And then in here today, yeah, looks like it's all going to happen.
Well,
So
Daryl
we're
Morey
really
should do a
excited
little
about it.
bit of a victory tour. There were a lot of people, I think, doubting him.
I'm raising my hand.
And
I didn't think he'd be able to pull this kind of roster
I know it's
off.
not a finished product. I know they haven't played a game yet. I know they haven't won a game
That's where
yet.
I go. Hey, good job, Daryl. This isn't done yet, is it?
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be a fun day to find out. Look, there's been a lot of talk. You got talent. Does the talent a fit? Is the fit where you want it to be? If you're Nick Nurse, if you're Paul George, if you're Tyrese Maxey, where does Maxey see himself? There's a lot of questions, a lot of interesting stuff. It's fun to talk about. It's X's and O's, and that's what I love, and that's what we hope to get out of everybody today.
How happy do you think Nick Nurse is with the roster so
That's going to
far?
be my first question. How happy how excited are you? I assume
How does
he's
it
going to say
feel?
great. Why not? I'm anxious to ask Paul George. You're joining a team with Joel Embiid. Do you adjust your game? Because probably in the history of Paul George, the teammates have adjusted their game to him. Is this a case where he has to adjust his game maybe a little bit for a Joel Embiid? So just a lot of good questions and hopefully answers that we'll get going today here at the practice facility.
The Bridge Authority having to step in on the Ray Dunn slander that he didn't walk across the bridge. Andrew and Connor should apologize.
I'm not going to apologize.
No. What a great picture by Ray.
It's a great picture.
Putting his life in peril, leaning over the railing so
That's
that
what
he
it
could
seemed like
come,
it.
looking at the city side of it from New Jersey.
That's
Just
beautiful.
An excellent journalistic picture.
Absolutely.
By Raymond Dunn.
Great job by Ray. All right, Bobby, we'll be listening, man. Can't
Thanks,
wait.
buddy.
All right, boys.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join our generous partner, Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because I'm living proof cancer research saves lives.
All right, we're back at it tomorrow on a Wednesday, which
Opening
means
of
Adam
camp.
Schefter, and it is opening of camp. Can't wait to talk more and maybe not have as much speculation conversations. I can't wait for it, and we'll speak with Shefty tomorrow, and also we'll hear some
Plus
of the
Nick
stuff
Sirianni's
from...
press conference.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
Tomorrow.
9:30 tomorrow, so make sure you're listening to that, and some responses to what Paul George and Tyrese Maxey have to say. And, oh, by the way, I just want to let you guys know, Athletic Director John Kincade will be happy. The Temple Owls are 7-3.
I'm happy, and I'm handling all the NIL deals.
And then we're going to need it because everybody wants to transfer already.
We're launching an investigation.
I'm trying to work on this recruiting trail here. But NCAA 25 has been played ad nauseum at the Salciunas household. Just don't tell Christy that because Cooper was actually around when I was playing yesterday. It's Kincade and Salciunas, Bob Cooney.